Hello, District family. My name is Edwin Mendoza, pastor at Iglesia La Vid in Ottawa, Ontario. For many years, God had planted His call into my heart to ministry. In 2010, I started pastoring Iglesia La Vid, and for 15 years, I have been doing ministry and working in my secular career as a CPA. All those years, I have been longing for the opportunity to get into full-time ministry. This year, praise God, I'm going into full-time ministry. Now, what does it mean to me? It means to have the best boss, to do the best work on earth, to share the most expensive and amazing gift, which is the gift of salvation, to witness lives transformed, to walk with people in their joys and their struggles, and to have the privilege that even angels don't have, which is preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm really grateful for this opportunity and look forward to many years of ministry ahead, serving God, serving His people, and I will do that with all my heart.
I'm going to invite Pastor Peter Snow to come. Peter is the pastor of Calvary in Renfrew. He's also the section presbyter for Ottawa Valley. And Peter is going to present the roster report. Would you give him a warm welcome as he does that?
It's time for everyone's favorite part of the business session. And so I'm going to read the roster report. And by the way, as a Montreal Canadiens fan and someone living in the Ottawa Valley, just want to let you know that if you're here with a Toronto Maple Leafs sweater or hat, I've arranged that your votes will not be counted today. Just letting you know that. So let's read here. Ordained 127. Licensed minister 28. Recognition of ministry 10. Deaconess 4. Ministry related 3. Lay delegate 14. General executive lay representative 1. For total voting members of 187. Total non-voting members credentialed 11. Visitors 94. For a total of 105 total non-voting members. Thus concludes the roster report.
Thank you, Peter. And that brings us into resolution number 1, and which is going to include a number of things. So I'm just going to read them here for you. Our voting bar, which was just presented, our registered voters, our 2024 conference minutes and our credential changes, and our conference committees. I'll just take a moment to read those as well. So our scrutineer committee, we have Godfrey Adderley, Crystal Moore, Sam Vijayasanan. Our roster committee is made up of Nicole Pedersen and Peter Snow. Our parliamentary committee is Ewan Butler and Stephen Shue. Our minutes survey committee is David Blakely, Cheryl Rogers, and Heather Broomer. Our nominations committee is Stuart Hunter, Jimmy Natagabo, and Pauline Williams. Resolutions committee is Jeff Hillier, Joe Nyhouse, Josh Livingston, Kathleen Van Engen. And as well as this resolution, we have the voting bar for the 2025 EO&D Business Conference shall include registered voting members. And the minutes is the May 8th, 2024 draft district conference minutes were posted on the district website and included in the family gathering digital booklet sent to you last week. So we hope that you've had an opportunity to review those documents. It was a year ago that we met online, and it was efficient and we were able to do that. But I remember driving home that day and being thankful that it was finished. But I felt incomplete in the sense that it was a missed opportunity for us to be together and to have this dialogue in person. So I'm very thankful that we were able to pull this off and to do this all together again this way and to have us back. And I'm grateful that you have seen the value of that and you've decided to come and to be here in person as well. So thank you for your attendance and your participation here. It means a lot to us. Our software that we're using today for the elections, for our ballots, is a software called Election Runner. If you've been part of our business conferences in recent years, this will be somewhat familiar to you. But Election Runner is our online voting platform. So during the business session, each time a ballot is launched, Election Runner will email you the ballot to the email that you registered with. So we live in a day of multiple emails, so please ensure that the email you use to register for the conference is the email you have access to, because that's going to be the email that receives all of the Election Runner ballots, okay? So when you receive your email from Election Runner with the invitation to vote, all you have to do is click the link inside the email, and it will take you directly inside the ballot. Please note that only those who are eligible to vote will receive a ballot. If you have any problem accessing the ballot, I want two people who are going to help you. I want them to stand so that they can be recognized. So Ashley Livingston and Sandy Newby. Where's Sandy? Now stay standing. So if you look over here on my left in the back, that is Sandy and Ashley. So at any point, if you're having difficulty in navigating Election Runner or getting it to work, whatever, go back and find them in the back corner, and they'll be happy to assist you. It should also be noted that speaking privileges today in the conference will only be granted to registered delegates who are eligible to vote. So we have a number of people who have come in today but weren't able to register or weren't able to get in on time for that. And again, I'm so grateful that you've decided to come anyway and to sit in and be part of our deliberations today. But just understand that speaking privileges are only granted to those who are registered. There will be points during the meeting when registered voting delegates will be invited. If you have any questions or a point of order or anything in the meeting like that, that there are two microphones that you can go to. There's one to my right here, kind of in the to the right of the center aisle, and to my left here, to the left of the center aisle. And when you come to the microphone, if you have a question or a point of order or something that you want to clarify, please just state your name, so that we can have that clearly for our minutes, and that will help us to identify you. If you're online, you can do that by the virtual raising of your hand, and that will help us to identify you, because that will move you up in the queue, and that will allow our technical people to know that you also want to participate and you've got something to say. And as well online, after you're identified, we'll ask you to clearly identify yourself, and we'll be able to see you and hear you here in-house as we go through the meeting. So as we come to resolution number 1, we do need it to be moved and seconded. So I have a mover over there. Can we have a seconder, please, for the resolution? Thank you. That's been seconded. So now we're going to move to that ballot. So that should have been emailed to you in the last little while. If you check your email now, hopefully that will start to come into that email. Just by way of a hand or a nod, a wave, as that email is coming in, can someone wave at me, let me know that you've received it? That's good. Okay, so a few of you are beginning to receive the email. Wonderful. So when you do receive ballot number 1 for resolution number 1 in your inbox, just a reminder that when you open the email, you will see a blue box that says, click here to vote. If you click that box, you'll be taken right into the ballot, and you'll be able to mark your choices and click submit once you've finished, and then you'll have 3 minutes to vote. The ballot will close when the timer on your screen reaches 0, okay? So just as you're taking time to vote on resolution number 1, we do have a video for you from the national office. Murray Cornelius was not able to be here in person with us, but he sent video greeting on behalf of the international office. Please take a look.
Hi, friends. Dave Wells, your General Superintendent, and I'm so privileged to bring greetings to you and your conference. And thank you for your faithful service on behalf of Jesus in your communities, in your place of ministry, and partnering with us across our nation and around the world. My fellow officers will share as well, but we are so enthused that as we have focused on our mission, which is to glorify God by being a disciple-making movement, and as we have prioritized that every church would be a house of prayer, our spiritual vitality, our dependency on the Spirit, that God's been at work through us. We are seeing growth in people associated with our churches. We are seeing impact across Canada through specialized ministries like Mission Canada, well over 100 people coming to faith through those ministries and baptisms. And we're just so grateful that you're partnered with us to then see the international impact that takes place as we do it together. This is a time frame where God is calling us to demonstrate the values of the kingdom of God, that we love God, heart, soul, mind, strength, that we love our neighbors as ourselves. In a polarized world, we represent the kingdom of God, and we do justice, we love mercy, we walk humbly with our God. Thank you, friends, for doing your part. Stay strong in the Lord, maintain your integrity, preach the word, and let the Lord work through you in phenomenal ways in his mission here in your context, in Canada and around the world.
Cindy, I thank you for your faithful support of Mission Global, RAN, Erdo, and Villages of Hope Africa. There are so many stories from our global workers and our international partners of life change, stories where whole families are transformed by God's grace. In a recent visit to Asia, I was privileged to participate in the baptism of 90 young men and women from Muslim backgrounds. One of the house church leaders proudly shared that 14 members of her church that she had discipled were among the new believers. The leader wept as she shared the challenges and personal cost. Her husband had been brutally killed for his faith, but the tears were still tears of joy as she spoke of the love of God and the privilege of being called a child of God. Those life changes are the culmination of providing clean water, providing Bibles, sending multiple global workers engaged in leadership development, all done at God's invitation and God's command to participate with him in his mission. We also sat with a pastor and his wife in Cambodia as they shared stories of the impact of Child Care Plus in their community. Our care for children, ensuring they get to school, that they have adequate food and care, it opens the hearts of parents and paves the way to share the love of Christ. We thank the Lord for everyone who supports this work, who cares enough to buy a Bible, sponsor a child, support and pray for our global workers, and participate with us. Said that he would build his church, the gates of hell would not prevail against it. And we get to be a part of that great story. Thanks very much.
Fellowship Services offers diversified administrative leadership and organizational support in areas related to financial administration, mortgages, church and clergy records, credentials, constitutional, legal, and property matters, the PAOC pension plan, and stewardship services. Our YouTube channel, PAOC Fellowship Services, provides several helpful videos for pastors and boards on a variety of topics. Each member of our team is ready and available to serve you.
We want to just acknowledge all of our national officers. And yeah, if you want to give them a hand, even though they're not here. Thank you to the leadership of David Wells and Murray Cornelius, and our own from Eastern Ontario, the former district superintendent, Craig Burton, who I know we're all very proud of as well for his service at the national level. If you're not aware, this is kind of a very unique time across the districts. Right now, over the last 2 weeks, and even happening yesterday and happening today and tomorrow, are votes for district superintendents. And so British Columbia went first, and they've now elected a brand new superintendent. Manitoba followed. They've got a brand new superintendent. I just found out that in Quebec yesterday, there's a brand new superintendent. And then today or tomorrow, Gary Taitinger has stepped down from Alberta, and they will be electing a new district superintendent. So pray, please, for the fellowship across Canada, because it's a new day, and God is raising up new leaders for such a time as this. And I'm honored to be part of it along with them. We do have the results of our first election, and we have 99% in favor of resolution number 1 and 1% no. So thank you. Give yourselves a hand for that first vote being done. Good. That's 1. So we're going to move now to our second ballot. So ballot number 2 is the nomination ballot for section presbyters. So for anyone that may be new to business and all of this district stuff is new to you, we have a number of guests here for the first time. I want to take some time just to explain how this works. Prior to the conference, each section is convened to nominate a candidate in your section. We have 8 sections all across Eastern Ontario. I'm still believing for the 9th to come in Nunavut. But currently in our structure, we have 8 sections, and each of those sections has a presbyter that is part of the general executive, okay? And so prior to this conference, they've convened, and each section has put forth a name from the section to be either ratified or voted on here at the conference floor. So the names of these pre-conference nominees are presented on your ballot today. So you have the opportunity to either affirm them and ratify them, or you have an opportunity to put your own name in a nomination under each of the sections, okay? So in a moment, that ballot is going to show up in your inbox, and after we deal with it officially. But for now, I wanted to explain it to you as to what this ballot is and who the names are. Do we have the names on the screen? We do. Let me see them. Oh, there they are. So in the capital section, we have Jeff Hillier, who's dressed very nicely today, I might add. In Kawartha, we have Crystal Moore. In Lakeshore, we have Andrew Jones. Lanark Seaway, Paul Burley. Ottawa Valley, Peter Snow. The Quinterito section, Jeremy Costco. Toronto South, Godfrey Adderley. And Toronto York North, Sam Vijayasanan. And just while we're acknowledging all of these names, I also want to say thank you to Stephen Heathcock. He served as the presbyter the last 2 years for Quinterito. So Stephen, thank you for your service and for saying yes a couple years ago. We appreciate you. It was good serving with you. So ballot 2 should have gone now to your email. I see Godfrey there in the back. Do we need a little bit more time, Godfrey? It's gone through? Okay. So if you look now in your email, then you should be able to see that ballot. And you will have to go through each name. And again, you can either affirm that name or you can suggest your own from the section. So thank you for taking a moment to do that. While you're voting, we're going to have a change of the chair as I'm getting ready to give my report. So I'm going to hand the chair over to Reverend David Blakely.
Thank you. I was sitting in the front, so I couldn't see behind me this morning, but I felt what Pastor Jason was sharing was resonating in our spirit, and it was well received. And we appreciate you and your leadership and look forward to what you have to share right now.
Thank you, everyone. I shared a lot in terms of district mission values. I didn't have time to unpack some of those other things that I was intending to, so I'll add that to some of the other thoughts I had for my district report. My intention today was to just state a quick State of the Union of a snapshot of our district, because there's some things that you may not be aware of, and I thought I would give you in real time a bit of who we are. You'll be hearing some of this in more detail in David's report and Jeff's report, but I just want to say that in terms of district, all the giving, our fellowship tithes and our missions giving is very, very strong, and I want to thank you for that and continuing to be part of that. In particular, if Murray Cornelius was here, he would say that Eastern Ontario and Nunavut is punching above its weight when it comes to our missions giving. For the size of our district and the output of missions, it's very strong, and I'll let Jeff unpack that a little bit further, but we're very thankful for that. In terms of the ACLR report that national office continues to tweak in order to make it a little easier for you to do and to be part of, this data helps us so much to know how we're tracking as a district and as a fellowship. And according to the ACLR report, I've got good news that Eastern Ontario and Nunavut has actually grown by about 3,000 people since our last conference, or that's about 13%. And we thank God for that. I think that's good news. We thank God for that. What's interesting about that is Gary Taitinger and his crew in Alberta have been paying close attention to our statistics as a fellowship. And because after COVID, you know, our numbers went way down during COVID because of reporting and because we couldn't gather the same way that we were. But so after COVID, our numbers bounced right back and were positive. But what we didn't know is if that was going to continue a year later. So it's very encouraging in our district and other districts to see the post-COVID effect. So these are post-COVID, post numbers, if that makes sense. And the fact that we're trending up is very positive, and we thank the Lord for that. I want to show you a slide now that kind of shows you the makeup of what our churches look like across the district. This may be surprising for some of you to see and understand, but we have 7 congregations currently that are over 1,000 people. So we have 126 churches as of the end of 2024. Now, the good news is we have affiliated a few more, and there's, I think, 2 or 3 that are right at the edge of affiliating in, and I'll let David, he'll talk about that in his report. But as of the end of 2024, we were at 126 churches, not counting the satellites and other expressions on top of that. So we have 7 congregations that are 1,000 plus, 5 congregations that are in between 5 and 1,000, and 23 that are congregations between 200 to 500, and 30 congregations between 100 to 200. And I want you to see this, 61 congregations under 100. So sometimes when I talk to people in the hallway at conferences and events, they have this kind of mindset, I don't know if I should be here. I've only got a church of 50 or whatever. I want you to know that half of our district is under 100 in terms of our churches. So you absolutely belong, and you are a part of what this is. Half of us is you. So please understand that. And furthermore, 2/3, I mean, someone say 2/3. 2/3 of us is under 200. And that sort of puts us in alignment with the national movement, where the median size of a church is somewhere between 150 to 170 people. And that fits exactly where we are as a fellowship. So this encourages me that we have a lot of room to grow. We can do more in terms of planning churches and whatnot, but as we develop leaders and as we pour resources into churches, particularly 2/3 of our district, the capacity of what can happen is great. So this is really encouraging to me as I see that. We're in a current demographic shift, and I hear the words of Craig Burton as I say those words, because in the executive table for years, he was saying this. He saw this coming years ago, and now we're there. And when I go into transition meetings along with my colleagues, and I talk to churches that are looking to find a new lead pastor, I'm seeing all of our boomers who have either retired or they're getting close to retirement. And we have a lot of younger pastors who are Gen X and millennials who are having to step into those leadership roles faster and sooner than they've had to in the past, because we don't have as many associate roles, and they don't have time because we need to fill these other leadership positions. So because of that, that has left leadership gaps among us where people just have to step into leadership so much faster now than they did in the past. And so that makes our theological training so much more important, and it makes our resourcing to pastors more important than ever. This is where the value of being a district can really come into play, because we've got to develop our leaders now more than ever. We have far less margin than we used to have to do that. So again, in my report today, earlier, I wanted you to hear very clearly that you are our focus. I talked about coaching. Other things that we've done is we've begun to have cohorts. When I came into the district, I saw something that Jeremy Albrecht was doing, and I think he was ahead of his time in how he was doing it, even before we were doing this as a district. He has an event called YP Connexus, and some of you may have gone through that in the last number of years, and I just thought it was such a beautiful model where he would bring a smaller group of youth pastors and their spouses together for intentional investment and assessment and helping them right where they are in their leadership. So I remembered as a new lead pastor what it was like to know what I didn't know. And so I used Jeremy's model, and we formed a new lead pastor group. And now I think we're in our 5th year. Every year we've got anywhere from 7 to 10 brand new lead pastors. And it's just a way to pour into people. So as we go forward, we want to do things like that, but invest even more and make those resourcing so much more than they are now, because they're basic right now. So we want to make them bigger and quality moments of intention. We also want to help marriages and families and begin to help you as you do that in your own life. And so these are the types of leadership things that we're developing. And like I said earlier, it's going to cost dollars, because anytime we invest into people to come and to pour into them over a couple of days, there's always a price tag to it. But we'll find out shortly if we can afford it. All right, I want to just end off here with 2 last things. Just going to grab my phone. I want to end off with your stories, because again, it's you, not us. And so these are just a few stories. We're hearing some throughout the day, and we've got more to share with you, but these are just a couple that I wrote down, some things that are happening. A pastor currently serves 2 congregations, and they're growing, and he's activating people in mission. He's actually brought some of them here today with him, and they have launched serving breakfast meals to multiple schools. One of these churches that he's pastoring was aging and losing its sense of purpose and hope that they had a future. And now in the last year and a bit, it's a complete turnaround, remarkable story. I love it. There's another couple, and they're a boomer couple, and I share that because of what they're doing. They're on the district east end, and they lead a church that feeds hundreds of people weekly. These are boomers, and they're just giving all their energy and all of their time, and they're hearing testimonies weekly of God working in people's lives. There's another pastor who, after the Sunday service, he goes to jail. He's invited to come, and he joins one of our prison chaplains, and they go there each week, and they have services in the jail, and they're seeing people come to faith. There's raw opportunities of people having real encounters with Jesus Christ in the jail, and that's happening throughout our district in a few different contexts. I think that's amazing. One of our churches rented out, are you ready for this? A 2,500-seat casino arena the last couple of years, And I got to be part of it this past Easter. It was the second time that they did this. And I got to meet the general manager of the casino. He pulled me aside and I said, "Thank you for allowing us to come." And he said, "No, I want to thank you and thank the church for thinking of us as a venue." He said, "We've had Bryan Adams, we've had Eagles tribute bands, all of it. This event has packed out the casino more than anything else we've done." That's pretty great. There's a church in the GTA that has seen many young adults come to faith and baptism as followers of Jesus Christ. And it's an ethnic church, and they were beginning to die out because the first generation was beginning to age, and the church was just beginning to die out, but yet they were seeing this movement of young adults in their church getting saved and baptized. And so they made a decision as the older generation, and they said, "We need to start having an English service." So they gave up their time and preferred time to the English-speaking service. And now the English service has almost doubled since they've done that. The other people still gather and meet, but they do it now as one church. And this church is now growing again, reaching the next generation. And it makes me happy when I hear stories like that. And I want to just share one more that came in just yesterday. By the way, if God's doing stuff, and he is, in your church, in your ministry, please text us, email us, call us, because we want to celebrate these things with you. I got a text just yesterday, and it said, "Hey, Jason, one of my key prayers for our church has been for many more salvations." So he said, "This was a real answer to prayer for me. I'm trusting the Lord for more, but this is also encouraging." He said, "I just wanted to give you an update about what's happening." He said, I was preaching on the Tower of Babel. And he said, "I'm not sure how that would be received." He's going through a series in Genesis. He said, "Well, I brought it eventually to the gospel. And when I gave an opportunity to respond, 10 people made commitments to Christ." He said, "I was surprised and thankful to God. I've never seen anything like that before. Just wanted to give you a praise update." Thank you for sending me that praise update. I love stories like that. My time is just about up, so I want to end off with a few acknowledgments. And our officers are not going to take time to do that, so I'm going to just, on all of our behalf, I'm going to offer a few acknowledgments together. I want to say thank you to our district executive who have been serving, all of our presbyters and our 2 members at large. They have put in a lot of work over the last 2 years of transition and change and all of the strategic things we've talked about today. There has been a lot of extra. And personally, and on behalf of Jeff and David, we have felt their support and encouragement, a lot of texts and phone calls. So I just want to say thank you to our executive for the way that they have served you and served us. I want to thank our staff and all of those that are part of our district teams, which includes our camps. They've had a lot of change as well, and a lot of not only change in terms of leadership, but as we've been unpacking our district vision and mission, we've had to now realign our office and how we do things internally. And so that's required a lot of extra work. And as I was talking earlier about, belonging and utilizing all the gifts, I would say about 95% of what you see here today is through the giftings of our executive and our staff all coming and being made known and manifest. So I just honor our staff for how hard they work and how they serve all of you, and that I get to be with them. We love them. I want to thank my wife, Colleen. She serves on behalf of, used to be called Ministry Wives. And when I got elected just 2.5 years ago, she stepped into that role to give oversight to Ministry Wives. But as of January 2025, we made the shift, and it's no longer called Ministry Wives. It's now called Ministry Spouses. Yeah. So we have a lot of women pastors, and we thought we want to keep that care going over to all of our spouses as well. And so it's a lot more extra work, but she's taken it on like a champ. And anytime I come home, she's usually around the dining room table writing cards and praying over you and your family. So I want to honor and acknowledge Colleen for that role. I want to thank those of you who have been part of the Upper Zoom. Where are my Upper Zoomers at? All right. So we started praying together during COVID, and we had 7 people on that first call. Now I've got about 40 people on my invite list, just reminding them that we're praying, and it's growing each week. And this is a group. I know not everyone can make it, so please don't ever feel guilty or that you have to be there. I just want you to know that if you want to pray and you want to get around other people and just be in the atmosphere in the room of prayer, every Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock to about 8:40, we pray together, and this group has been phenomenal. They have been interceding for you, your churches, your section. They've been praying for Canada, praying for us, and I just wanted to say thank you to my Upper Zoomers for their faithful prayer. I love you very much. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to the Lord for the absolute privilege and the honor of getting to serve here. And thank you, the conference, for the privilege of serving you as your district superintendent.
Thank you, Pastor Jason. Would there be a question that you would like to ask our superintendent before we move on? Anything regarding his report? Well, we don't have a question, but we do have a gesture of appreciation. We like to just say thank you for the way you lead from your heart, from the Spirit of God speaking to you, and with all your might. This man is a hard worker. He works hard, and you'll never see it because it's behind the scenes, but I think we need to thank him. Can we do that?
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that very much. We have the results of ballot number 2, and they will be presented on the screen, I believe. And there we are. So congratulations. We have an election in every section. So congratulations to all of our presbyters for your vote. We thank you all for your service. And look at that. Our brand new presbyter in Quinte Rideau got 100%. All right. So Jeremy, I've told you already, but we have our first general executive meeting for you in June, the first week of June. I remember when I first got elected as a presbyter, I didn't understand that I was now part of the general executive or the executive of the district. So Jeremy will see you along with us in June. Congratulations to all of our presbyters for your service. That leads us to ballot number 3, which is the election for member at large. Member at large are positions that help augment our executive. So we have the chair, and we have our section presbyters that make up the executive. Then our Constitution allows for 2 members at large. And these are people that we like to have around the table that can bring different acumen to the table. So this is something that happens pre-conference. You would have received a ballot for the nomination for this purpose. And you participated in that. And so we thank you for doing that. In the future, if you don't understand what a member at large is, this is a really important function of our executive. So as that ballot comes 2 years from now and we go through this process again, I highly encourage you to think and consider about individuals who you might think helps round out the executive in terms of any acumen that they may bring that we need. We're developing leaders right now. We're trying to resource you effectively. So we need all the horsepower we can get. And thankfully, you did a good job of your nominations for these people who we've got. So we've got 4 names to present to you in alphabetical order. And that these are names that you have already pre-nominated, and now we need to choose 2 of them, okay? So in alphabetical order, we have Heather Broomer, Heather is the lead pastor of Trinity in Oshawa. We have Josh Livingston. Josh opened up our conference today in prayer. He's the lead pastor in Southside Worship Center. Shout out to Southside, my former church. And we have Michelle Mercer. She was in the video. You saw her earlier, who is the lead pastor of Calvary in Peterborough. And we have Mark Scar, who is the lead pastor in Woodville, Ontario. So these are 4 great names. So you've got a great problem ahead of you of choosing 2 of them for the member at large. So I'm going to declare the ballot to be opened for the election of the member at large now. So the ballot will be closed when the timer on the screen reaches 0. And as you go to vote and go through that process, I am going to invite the Honorable Reverend David Blakely to take the podium to share the financial report. Would you welcome David as he comes?
Good afternoon, friends. Nice to be with you today. I'm going to stick close to my script because, well, I'm already departing from it now, but you know what happens when you leave the script? You end up taking more time. So here we go. It's my privilege to share the financial report for the year ending December 31st, 2024. The district has closed the year with a positive momentum. In fact, EOND is in a strong financial position and has a solid foundation for future growth. As a point of reminder, we do refer to ourselves as the Eastern Ontario and Nunavut District. However, all district banking and legal business continues to be conducted under the name the Eastern Ontario District of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada. The 2024 audited consolidated financial statements have been made available in advance of this meeting, and you can access them online. They have been reviewed by the District Audit Committee and approved by the district executive. So as we review the financial performance for the year, I'm happy to report that we ended 2024 in a positive consolidated net assets position. Our net assets, which include Lakeshore Pentecostal Camp and Ottawa Valley Pentecostal Camp and the General District, are now at just over 11.4 million. This is a testament to the sustainability of district operations and our ability to balance the need of serving our constituency with responsible fiscal management. This year, we saw a favorable outcome with revenues exceeding our expenses, which further strengthens our ability to carry out our mission and prepare for future growth. Let me update you on the Eastern Ontario Heritage Holding Non-for-Profit Corporation, or EOHH. It was back in 2017 when the district's property on Highway number 2 just outside Cobourg was sold. Since then, we've been leasing back just the manor home itself as our base for offices. And so far, this arrangement has worked very well for us. It has been extremely cost-effective. As you will note in Note 1A of the statements, the 87-acre piece of land adjacent to Lakeshore Pentecostal Camp that was previously registered to the ownership of EOHH, that has now been transferred over to the district and then over to Lakeshore Pentecostal Camp and is on their balance sheet. The transference of this capital asset was done in 2024, and since then, in 2025, EOHH has been dissolved. So we are a much simpler organization. We only have 3 entities, the district as a whole, and the 2 camps. The primary source of revenue for our district continues to be church tithes and credential holders' halves tithes. Past year, we experienced a 2.3% increase in tithes. Ministries, conferences, and registrations will be the next largest source of district revenues. As previously mentioned, in 2024, we experienced an excess of revenue over expenses. And through careful planning and budgeting throughout the year, we've seen a surplus of $736,415. And this positions us well for new upcoming opportunities. Having operated with an excess of revenues over expenses in this past year demonstrates that we have the ability to financially fund the new programs and initiatives that Jason referred to in his superintendent's report. It's one thing to plan something and try to catch up with it later. It's another thing to pre-plan for it, and now we know that we can afford to do it, and we're ready to launch into it. This past year, the district ministry directed over $900,000 to financially support churches, Bible colleges, district camps, Mission Canada initiatives, and the international office. This is a significant investment into kingdom purposes. Just speaking about the camps for a moment, it's fair to note that it's a challenge for our district camps to finish each fiscal year with an accounting surplus. One of the reasons for this is the significant and required depreciation of capital assets. Both camps manage their finances very well, and significant work has been done to upgrade sanitation systems as well as making improvements to infrastructure and facilities at our camps. Something that doesn't show on this chart that you're looking at for the general district expenditures is the missions offerings that was received this past summer at our camps. And Jeff's going to talk about this, but let me give you the numbers. Over $95,500 was given over in these two camps during family camps this last summer. Over $95,500. That's a significant. And when you consider that funds are also operating expenses need to be met, and those offerings need to take place, it says something, doesn't it? There's a message there. One of the key takeaways from this financial report is the importance of cash reserves. With our revenue surplus comes the responsibility of ensuring that we invest wisely for the future. We are committed to ensuring that the portion of the 2024 surplus is allocated to both strengthening our reserves and expanding district ministry impact. As an organization, we do not own property other than the two camps and a little sliver of land in Colborne. This makes our cash and our GIC reserves particularly important. By the way, we're not hit with the stock market. We're not into the stock market. We have GICs. These reserves not only support our day-to-day operations, but will be essential in funding a potential future office relocation should that need arise. Also, as phase 2 of the sanitary sewer infrastructure at camp, upgrades at the camps will need to take place in the years ahead, our cash reserves will be available as financial backups when these needed capital projects are undertaken. Furthermore, having a strong financial base ensures that we can remain agile and responsive to the needs of district ministry. This could be through new ministry initiatives, collaborations, or church planning opportunities. And of course, we will continue to focus on supporting and providing emergency assistance to churches as it is needed. 2024 has been a year of solid financial growth and prudent management. The district's positive consolidated equity position and excess of revenue over expenses highlights the work and dedication of the district team and, most of all, the support from our family of churches. As we move into 2025, we are well positioned to explore new opportunities, fund potential growth, and continue fulfilling our mission. We're grateful for your continued support and are excited about what the future holds. Thank you for allowing us to be part of this journey with you.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions for David about the financial report? We also have people watching online, so I'm just keeping an eye out for the back as well, should there be any questions online. We do have a question. Please come to microphone and state your name, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is EJ Tupe, Mission Canada, downtown Toronto. It's just a point of clarification, and I apologize because I could have just probably emailed you had I read this before. Just on number 7, designated funds payable, I would just like to ask a point of clarification regarding 2 particular items. One, it says pastor's assistance and minister's assistance program. Guess my question is what those programs are, and I noticed that they are quite underutilized, and I was wondering if you could explain what those programs are, and perhaps it's an underutilized program that others could use if they're in need. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me ask you exactly where you're referring to.
Sorry, it's on number 7, designated funds payable, page 12. Again, I apologize if I emailed you this. You could probably just give me an answer. Sorry.
No, that's fine. It's under the notes, 7.
Yeah, page 12 on the
Right,
audited statements.
under, pastor's assistance.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. You know that when you renew your credentials, you have an opportunity to give $5 or more for to assist other pastors, other credential holders. Well, a few years ago now, it was probably about 5 years ago, the national office forwarded us a bulk amount of funds from that fund that we have kept on our balance sheet, and we access as required. Historically, what we've used this for is when a tragedy hits a family. And I'll just, without thinking of any specific situation, I'll just say a death has happened and there's no funds for the funeral, and there's no insurance in place. Then we will refer to this fund. And before, what we would do is we would submit an amount from the district, and then we would submit an application to national office. They would match ours, and then one check would go to the family. They have given us this so that we can administer it all in-house ourselves.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions about the financial report? There's one. Thanks for coming to the microphone. State your name, please.
I'm Michael Kraus. I'm at Tyndale, Dean of the seminary there. I just want to commend you for the work on this. I was part of the district when we were in serious financial trouble, and I know part of that was Craig Burton's work, but I know that you guys have continued that on. I just want to acknowledge and recognize that and just say thank you.
I think there are no more questions, so I also want to end on that note in terms of the financial report, to say a very special thank you to David Blakely and his team, Dan Smith and Sandy Newby, who provide management of all of our finances for the district. It was an outstanding job. I'll speak more about David a little bit later. We have a couple of our MCS folks here. So I want to just acknowledge Jeremy Martini, who is the college president, and Todd Manuel, the executive vice president for MCS. And they have provided a video report update for us. And these two men have worked incredibly hard in the last year and a bit. and we're honored to have them here. If you don't know who they are, you will see Jeremy, I'm assuming, on the video. But if you're in the room, could you please stand just so we can acknowledge you both so that folks know who you are. So there they are right there, Jeremy and Todd. Thank you both. Now let's take a look at this video together.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Martini, president at MCS and Horizon College and Seminary, and we are now approaching the end of our first academic year in strategic partnership together. And I can say that we have demonstrated that we are better together than either of our institutions would have been alone. It is an exciting time for the kingdom. There is a report that you can see all kinds of data on if you like, and that's available to you, and it's on our website, and you can download that. But I am just so thrilled with how this year has gone, and I'm excited about what's coming up next. It's exciting for our schools, but ultimately this isn't really about our schools. What really excites me is seeing what we're accomplishing in the purpose of preparing competent Christian leaders. We all know we have a leadership pipeline crisis. We've been talking about it for a long time. Evangelical Fellowship of Canada just put out in the Faith Today magazine how we need 625 pastors a year, year over year for the next dozen years just to take care of pastoral retirement attrition. And that doesn't even include all of the associate and youth pastors and missionaries and other workers. We have an audacious goal at MCS and Horizon, and that goal is we believe that we can absolutely eliminate our leadership pipeline crisis for our constituency. I believe we can do that. I believe that that goal isn't even audacious enough. With your help, we can actually eliminate the pipeline crisis. How do we do it? We are innovating new ways of bringing competent Christian leadership training to you. We have launched now, at time of recording, we have 75 church hubs that are in the hopper. We've got 50 of those right now with signed MOUs. You can be part of that if you have a church. You just need to identify one leader in your church. Barna tells us 1 out of 10 young adults in church is a resilient disciple. This is somebody in your church right now, young and not always so young, that you can shoulder tap and you can say, I think maybe God has something more for you than you have thought for yourself. You got to shoulder tap them, connect them with us. You can sign up to be a church hub, and you can retain the quality leaders in your church while they earn an accredited quality education. We can do this together, and within no time, I think we will plug that entire leadership pipeline, and we will be able to go forward together and see the kingdom of God advance in new ways. I'm so excited about what has happened in this past year, but I am even more excited about what's coming up for the future. I look forward to connecting with you in person at some event, at your church. Get in touch with us, find out what's going on, check out our websites. Very exciting things. God bless you, and looking forward to seeing more of you.
In 2024, a Christian leadership revolution began. Nearly 60 churches across Canada became learning hubs, where the next generation of leaders are being trained for ministry while earning accredited college degrees. Your church could be next. Right now, future pastors and ministry leaders are in your church. 1 in 10 young adults is a resilient disciple, called, eager, and ready to grow, just waiting for someone to invest in them. Join the movement, become a church hub, raise up leaders, strengthen your church.
Yeah, let's thank our friends from MCS Horizon one more time. I also want to acknowledge all of our church hubs we had some folks who came online quickly that wanted to help and were early adopters. And I want to acknowledge one church in Toronto and Woodvale in Ottawa, so east-west. Both of these churches have been great partners, and they have large hubs that there are multiple students in. And then we have a number of hubs now growing across our district and a number in Western Ontario. So thank you for everyone who has been a part of that. And we come to the results of ballot number 3. We actually have an election of members at large. So we'll show the results on screen. I want to congratulate Michelle Mercer and Mark Scarr as being newly elected and re-elected to serve as members at large. So congratulations to you both. I want to also say a special thank you to Mark Goring. He served as a member at large as well, along with Mark Scarr. So Mark Scarr has been re-elected, and we welcome Michelle Mercer around the table as well. So Michelle, we'll see you in early June, and we'll help get you oriented to our upcoming meetings. Congratulations. I believe our hosts are coming now. I'm going to invite Jeremy and Gabriella to come. And we've got something special for you.
Hello.
Come on up.
That's right, we do. You guys have been
We're back.
you've been sitting for a long time, so why don't you just stand for a real quick second before our team
We're
comes?
just gonna lead a quick little. What do you think? Like
Yeah, we're
yoga?
we could do. I
All right, let's
mention,
stretch. Okay,
maybe
Yeshua's leading over there. Everybody stretch to.
everyone follow what Yeshua is doing from
Here we
Arm
go.
Prior. There you go. Stretch it out. Turn
Okay.
around.
Turn around. Do a
Smile at
little.
somebody behind you now that you're seeing the back of their head. It's perfect. That worked well. All right, you can sit down.
All
Have a
right.
seat.
Well, we are full of surprises today,
We are.
and
we
we've
are.
got a little surprise for you.
That's right. It's treat time.
Woo woo!
It's that time in the afternoon where you're hitting that lull. Normally, right now, Gabby, what would I be doing?
Right now, actually, is fun fact. Right now is usually when Jeremy Albrecht is preparing his afternoon coffee. He
That's
just
right.
makes the whole office smell like coffee. He does this
You're
little
welcome.
ritual. It smells
Yep.
great.
Little boil the tea kettle, or maybe 205. Get the filter wet.
Okay.
Grind the beans. A little pour over. People in the office are smiling right now.
Or
They
you
know
can
me
just
too
do
well.
a Keurig pod like Reverend
Yeah,
Jim
we won't
Blakely,
talk about those people.
Cafe Verona.
All right,
Starbucks coffee.
it's treat
All
time. It's treat time.
it's
Come
treat
on down.
time.
We got our
got some
hospitality
treats
team.
coming down the hall for you.
Here we go. They're gonna start passing out some treats.
All right.
We got chips. What else we got here?
Chocolate.
We got chocolate.
We got chocolate.
I might have to grab some, Gabby.
Because the candy.
Wow, we spared nothing. We got real dairy milk. You guys want some?
Oh,
You guys want something?
It's a kid with teeth.
Can I get you some? Jeff? He's not gonna say no.
The candy man. Oh, the
We gotta feed our
candy
officers.
man.
They're looking.
The candy
Enjoy that.
man.
Enjoy that, guys.
With love and makes the world.
If you're in the room and you need something a little stronger,
Who can
don't forget you can get up right now, visit our coffee booth at the back. There's water back there.
Coffee and tea.
Please help yourself and enjoy these treats.
Enjoy, you guys.
Candy man.
That's it. Let's go.
The candy man can. The candy man can, cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. Now you talk about your childhood wishes. You can even eat the dishes. Oh, who can take tomorrow? Dip it in a dream. Celebrate the sorrow and collect up all the cream. The candy man. Oh, the candy man can. The candy man can, cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. Can even eat the dishes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dip it in a dream. Separate the sorrow and collect up all the cream. The candy man. The candy man can. The candy man can, cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. Yes, the candy man can, cause he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. Man, candy man, a candy man, yeah, candy man.
Okay, we will continue. Hope you enjoy your treat. Brother Ken Bombay is saying, what is going on here? Enjoy that. Okay, friends, we're going to move to ballot number 4. So if you're off getting a coffee, I hope you have your device with you. This is ballot number 4 for the assistant to the superintendent ministry nomination ballot. Jeff Laird is our assistant to the superintendent ministry. And this ballot is one that is populated through the district executive, and it's a nomination ballot. So Jeff Laird is the district executive nominee for assistant to the superintendent ministry, but the ballot you will receive, it's going to show Jeff's name, and again, that's from our executive, but it'll leave an opportunity if you want to nominate someone else. So it is a nomination ballot with Jeff being the nominee on behalf of the district executive. So at the back, can you give me a wave if that has gone out? We're good. So I do declare that ballot number 4, assistant to the superintendent ministry, is now open. The ballot will be closed when the timer on the screen reaches 0. And as you take an opportunity to do that, I'm going to invite our ASM to come to the stage. Would you please welcome Jeff Laird as he comes?
Afternoon, everybody. I also will stick to my script, David, because if I don't, I will wander all over the place and tell you so many incredible stories, but I will come talk to me after. Thank you, everybody. It really is a joy to bring to you the Assistant to the Superintendent for Ministry report. I want to start with missions. I was reading recently Acts chapter 13, and verse 47 popped out at me. And it said, it was encouraging us to bring salvation to the farthest corners of the earth. And it got me thinking again how we all have a part to play in seeing the spread of the gospel. We're so thrilled as a district to see many men and women who are still answering the call and are willing to go wherever the Lord directs. Wherever the Lord directs. Somebody said amen. Since our last conference report, Peter and Ashani Slocum, they've raised the necessary funds, and they're now deployed and gone, and they're serving in the Philippines and doing a great job. I wanted to just mention quickly, Helen and I were fortunate to take a missions trip this fall in last October 24. And we were able to travel across several countries, all across Eastern Europe. I think we were in 6 or 7 countries. And we met many incredible leaders, just a whole bunch of pastors, and just servant people of all different types, too many to mention. But we were just so inspired, truly, truly inspired to see God at work in so many countries that desperately need the love of Jesus. All those churches over there that we visited were under 100 people, but God was moving powerfully in their midst. And it was so encouraging to be there and to see it with our own eyes. EOND currently has over 40 people that are serving in Mission Global, Mission Canada, and RAN combined. And we were excited to just to have 2 new people recently join the Mission Canada team, and we're really excited to have them on board. Our most recent EOND missions brochure is actually completed, and it's available in the lobby for you to pick up. And I encourage you to pick it up. And there you'll see all of our workers and all the places that they are, and it'll bring you up to date, and I encourage you to get one on the way out. There's a real need, can I say this too? There's a real need for the next generation of mission workers. They need to rise up from among us, ready to go and answer the call of God. The harvest is still great, and more workers are needed. We have fantastic workers, but people are aging, and we need the next generation to rise up and heed the call of the Spirit. Somebody said amen. And if you can do that, if you or your missions committee are looking for any suggestions, any information, anything at all, I would be so happy to come and help you in any way that I can and serve you in that way. So thank you for your continued support and your prayers for all these folks. They really need it. They really need it, and they really appreciate it. We need to do all that we can to see the salvation of Jesus go to every corner of the earth. And thanks to our district missions committee, who meets with myself about 3 or 4 times a year. I appreciate their help, their input, and their support towards all of our missions workers. They do a good work, and I thank you. I thank you all. Camps. In 2024, both Ottawa Valley and Lakeshore Camp had tremendous summers. Family camp, youth, children's programs, they were all really well attended. Calibrate, junior high and senior high, the weekends at both camps were full. And this year, actually, to accommodate greater numbers and to give churches more flexibility, we're going to be offering a 3rd week at OV that will combine junior high and senior high to try to get some more people together. Isn't it nice when we're too full? And that's what we're seeing in the next gen stuff, and it's really, really encouraging. Mission Sunday, Jason touched on it, but I wanted to just say again, Mission, and David did too, but Mission Sunday at Ottawa Valley and Lakeshore were an overwhelming success. We actually doubled our goals at both camps, and we raised, as David said, just under $100,000. It was incredible. It was special. You know those moments when God is in the house and it was triggering people's wallets? It was one of those moments, but it wasn't pushed. It was just a move of the Spirit, and people gave, and it was just. We were weeping. It was powerful, and it was just so good. I was able to, with all that money, it was such a joy for me because I was able to send 19 missionaries a check for $5,000 each. And that money went all over the world, and it was fantastic. Yeah. It was such a huge help and encouragement to many who really, really needed the funds. And just a small note, I didn't tell everybody that I was sending the money. I just dropped the money into their accounts. And then I started getting I got $5,000 in my account. And it was just so much fun. And the Lord just really used the camps to encourage a lot of missions. And I just wanted to say this too. I wanted to encourage you to promote the camps as much as you can in your churches. It's really life-changing stuff. And to be in it now on this side, it's just incredible. Like we still, folks, it's not from the old days. We are still hearing stories of salvation, of healing, of baptisms in the Holy Spirit, people being called into ministry, people being called into missions work. God is alive and moving at camps. And if you can get your young people there, your folks there, they will be blessed and you will be blessed by having them there. So do all you can to be a part of our camps. Quickly, multiplication and affiliation. Just wanted to touch on this too. Canada needs Jesus. And we understand that to multiply, we are going to need a variety of ministry expressions to reach as many as possible in EOND. And to do that, Jason touched on it, but we really need some apostolic pastors and planters who are feeling called by God to start some new things. And if that's you, please get in touch with me. I'll be happy to help you in any way. There's some stuff that's brewing that you'll probably hear about coming later this year, but we want more and we want to expand and push and let's see the kingdom of God take over EOND. And so it's a real need and I'd love to help if I can at all. I wanted to thank our district multiply team who will be meeting next week, and we're going to try to map out some plans heading into the future with Paul Fraser. And I just want to thank you guys for in advance for that, and just to help me think through this, how we can encourage and how we can just get started more things throughout the district. Quickly too. Church affiliations are on the rise, and it is an unbelievable blessing. We're so thankful for this. It's my privilege to meet with many of the pastors and the leaders of the churches who are interested in joining our PAOC family. And I know we can complain a lot, but let me tell you, we have a good family. And people on the outside say, come on, I want in. And it's just a blessing to meet with people from so many cultures and so many backgrounds who want to be a part of the PAOC. We've recently just completed one. We've got another one that's almost done, and several more that are in various stages of the process. So we're just taking it and just seeing God expand, and there's cultural groups coming and all kinds of things that are happening there in the affiliation side. So that's really good news. Our specialized ministries, it's a primary focus of district ministry to, as you heard this morning, to influence, inspire, and invest. Did you like that? Like that? That was good, eh? Yeah. Into the success of the local church. And so our specialized ministry team, they work really hard and legit hard to pour into leaders and to organize events that are meant to impact the local church. You've seen Jeremy here on the stage, our youth and leadership health director. Also, our newest director, Patrice Wheeler, is our new children's director. And Patrice is awesome. You already know Jer is awesome, but Patrice is awesome. And if you have a chance to get to know her or have her into your house, do it, because she will be a blessing to you and to your church. They have such a wealth of knowledge and experience, both Jeremy and Patrice, and I encourage you to reach out to them if you need that help. I wanted to mention just a few of the ministries and to give you some numbers from 2024. We haven't met in person in a while, and I thought it might be useful for you to hear some of these numbers. First, every year we invite new lead pastors, and Jason mentioned it, from all around the district. It ranges from 5 to 7, 8 to 10. And we spend 2 days of relationship building, mentoring, resourcing, And this is proving to be an incredible way to invest into the lives of new lead pastors. And the feedback is great, that we get feedback saying, thank you, that really made a difference. And those days were so useful and helpful to me. So we want to continue that. We currently have 46 cluster groups that are operating across the district with about 154 people in attendance. So if you're not in a cluster, I don't know what's wrong with you, but come on, get on board and let's push that even higher. You know that the purpose of the groups is to pray together, to encourage each other, and just to be healthy leaders as we lead others. And we find in the cluster groups are a tremendous way to do that. Pursue our junior high and our senior high events that are held in May. I just want you to know that last year in 2024, there was over 1,200 students that were registered with over 40 churches combined in the Ottawa and the Whitby location. And so it's alive and well. And so you want to tap into that as much as you can. We also have a ladies' days that I wanted to mention, that there are over 1,100 women last year that represented over 80 different churches combined at Lakeshore and at OV. And it was powerful. I was on the outside looking in, but it sounded really powerful, I'll tell you that. And it's good stuff. And our men's days and our men's retreat, I just wanted to give a shout out. Steve, if you're here, are you here, Steve? I think Steve is here somewhere. But we had at both camps about 360 men coming together for our men's days at both camps. And that's a really great number, and we're thankful to the Lord for that. We've got a long way to go to catch up to the ladies, though, Steve, so we've got to keep working at it. My wife, Helen, and I, just in conclusion, we've been so blessed for the last 2 years to be in this role, and just having the opportunity to visit so many churches across our district. We've met pastors and chaplains, missionaries, many ministry leaders. Went to visit the chaplain at the Trenton Air Force, got to fly in a helicopter. That was pretty cool. But I just want you to know, please be encouraged today. We have an incredible group of men and women who are serving across our district with such excellence and are making a real kingdom difference in the areas where the Lord has placed them. And it's been just our privilege to be a small part of that. So thank you, and may the Lord bless you all. And thanks again for the opportunity to serve. God bless you.
Thank you, Jeff. I just want to give opportunity if there are any questions for the ASM report. We have a Maple Leafs fan. Please say your name.
I'm Evelyn Wilson. I just want to reiterate what Jeff said about the camps. As someone who lives a half an hour away from Lakeshore and one who has been privileged to over 20 years do the kids ministry at OV, the importance of what camp is. And I want to share a story. There was a family that arrived at OVPC, and I had their kids, and I was talking to them to figure out, hey, where'd you come from? They were a new family. They attended a church in Ottawa. They were looking for a campground to go to, so they weren't at a provincial park where there was smoking, drinking, loud music. They had no idea what they were looking for. They Googled and found OVPC. When they got to OVPC, they actually discovered it was a PAOC camp, and their church was a PAOC church that hadn't promoted camp. They were shocked because there were other family members from their, or other families from their church, but their church hadn't promoted it. Your families are looking for places to go, and there's no better place than to go to a Christian campground where during family camp, you get blessed, your kids get blessed, the youth get blessed, there's fellowship. And so don't think of camps as something that's taking away your people. Think about it as something that is, they're going to get inspired, they're getting filled, and they're taking, I know for 20 years, I told those kids, what are you learning that you can take back to your own communities? And when I watched some of the worship team that I taught, I mean, I started, young, but watching some of the ministry team here that is serving are kids that I taught. And the reality is camps, whether it's Lakeshore or OV, is a place for you to get renewed and your families and your churches to get renewed. It's a commitment that would be nice to see churches promoting the camps because it's district. We're at a family blessing. The camps are part of our family. And whether it's the kids camp, youth camps, any of the camps, all of our district events, we as churches need to get behind our district events and district places, and that's how our family will grow. And so I want to encourage you, pastors, and especially lead pastors, encourage your support staffs to take their kids, their youth to it, because the importance of what these kids and youth are seeing, and that was evident last year at OV, watching the youth and the young adults at the altar during family camp, like praying for the older generation and generations to generations. So embrace camp. Your families are going on holidays. Encourage them to find somewhere where they're going to be blessed and bring that Holy Spirit power back to your congregations.
Thanks, Evelyn. You stole my thunder. We've got a camp video right after Jeff's report. That now is going to be a little bit redundant, but that's okay. Yes, sir. State your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Jacob Walla, and I just have a question, a bit of explanation would be great about, I think it's kind of new, the language of the apostolic and wanting that in our district and kind of what that looks like. So I just wanted clarity and understanding, what is that kind of process, or what is the training, and is that part of your vision, Jason, that is building out the apostolic for, I have friends who are that way and want to get involved in planting churches, building, the way that you guys have been talking. So can you just explain that a little bit more in detail? Or is there detail?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to it, but basically we just want to see some new stuff happen. And so we have a team, we're meeting about 2 to 3 times a year. Next week, we're actually meeting in person for the first time. But it's really just to map out what we can do from our end to try to identify potential leaders, to encourage churches, leaders, to look for areas that are in need, that are short. It's that whole gamut of anything that we can do on our end, finances, prayer, all of that. But it has to start with someone having a burden, right? To go somewhere and to do something. You can't make that happen, but we want to try to encourage that as much as we can. Okay. That's how I would start. That's how it starts.
Great, thanks.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
We actually have the results of that ballot number 4. So stay there, Jeff. Want to just let you know that we do have an election. So I want to congratulate Jeff and Helen Laird for your re-election to serve as the assistant to the superintendent ministry. Congratulations to you both. And I want to just acknowledge, because Helen is here in the front row, that a few years ago, Jeff and Helen left their congregation that they went through a major journey with. And there's a beautiful building now in downtown Stouffville that a new young leader and a great team are off and running with and filling it up. But you guys helped build it and help prepare the way, and you left that to come into district ministry, which is a big unknown, and you both have huge hearts for people, and I just wanted to honor you both, and here we go again, so we get to keep working together as we go forward. So would you again honor Jeff and Helen Laird and their work among us? And with that, we have a camp video. So just forget part of what you heard through Evelyn and hear it fresh for the first time in this video. It's camp season. And now this is your invitation to experience the life-giving presence of the Holy Spirit at our 2025 family camps. These aren't just summer events, they're sacred spaces. And we want you to be part of it. So why come? Because ministry flows best from a place of personal refreshment. So at Lakeshore and Ottawa Valley Pentecostal camps, I've watched pastors and leaders rediscover their clarity and passion and go home recharged back to their churches. Through spirit-filled worship, sound biblical teaching, and rest, you'll come back with what your church needs most, a healthy you. But you don't have to come alone. Bring your church. These camps are powerful environments where people encounter God, spirit baptism, calling, and discipleship happens. So think about it. Who in your church needs a touch from God? Who's called to ministry? Who needs to be filled with the Holy Spirit? Bring people with you. It's a simple investment that builds community and can have a lasting spiritual impact. When leaders are renewed, churches thrive, and I want that for you and your congregation. So to start planning, head to the Lakeshore and Ottawa Valley Camp websites. I hope to see you there this summer. That was a cold, windy day when we shot that. We need to give a little bit more time to David Blakely. So David is now going to come and share his Assistant to the Superintendent Resources Report. Would you welcome him one more time?
It's getting a little bit much, isn't it? Every time I give 2 reports, I think, boy, another one? But this is it. Promise. Our resources department is all about the invest part of our district mission. We don't just mean dollars and cents, but we invest in people and churches and in future ministry opportunities. This department takes care of some pretty significant areas of ministry support, things like credentialing, financial oversight, property stewardship, constitution and financial consulting for churches, risk management, and the group health plan that supports our leaders and families. Whenever you say the words constitution and insurance in the same sentence, people's eyes glaze over. I realize that. But this isn't just what we do, it's actually our passion. In 2023 and 24, one of our churches hit a major financial crisis, the kind that can shut doors permanently without outside assistance. But because they're part of the bigger family, our family, they didn't face it alone. With financial help from the district and the generosity of a few neighboring congregations, this church has not only survived, but it has begun to thrive. Today, they're growing, moving forward, and catching a fresh vision for the future, and their bills are paid. Amazing. That's what investment looks like in action. Allow me to quickly move through some of the numbers related to our district. As of December 2024, there were a total of 518 credential holders in our district, which is slightly lower than the 533 that there were in 2023. We had 126 affiliated self-governing assemblies, 27 satellite congregations and missional initiatives, and there are 5 more assemblies that are preparing to be set in order. That's a total of 158 active ministry expressions across our district and represents an increase of 4 over the previous year. It's not a lot, but it's better than going the other way, isn't it? We welcomed Limitless Church in Ajax to the family as a self-governing affiliated assembly. Yes, we do. Faith Church in Whitby joined us and later closed. Their journey is part of the bigger story that God is writing. Just talking to the pastor just this morning and saying, who knows what new starts ahead for that area in particular. Our group health plan continues to serve both churches and credential holders, and we're always working to keep it affordable while expanding what's covered. Jeff Keckney and his team at Keckney Benefits are based in Kitchener, Ontario, and they do a terrific job administering our plan along with the other districts in the nation except for one. And collaborating with these other districts gives us the advantage of better buying power when it comes to getting good rates from insurance companies. For 2025, the average medical increase across Canada was 7.4%. And we've managed to stay very competitive with an increase you'll probably have noticed when your invoices came of only 1.8%. So as you're looking at this chart, you'll see three colors, and our color is the green color. So the green line represents our plan premiums, and this is a 6-year comparison that shows our plan rates that are below the national trends, and also the next line up, I think it's orange, is a line that represents the inflation rate of inflation as measured by the CPI. So when you consider with all the changes that are happening in this business area, in this segment of society, to think that we are able to hold the rates of what we have, it really is phenomenal. And Jeff Keckney and his team have done us very well in helping us to stay within affordability, because that's very important for us. New in the plan for this year, we have a $500 allowable amount for chiropractic and a $500 per year allowable amount for massage therapy. Used to have to split the difference, right? We heard you, you spoke, and we heard you, and we were able to make this change, make this adjustment. Dependent life insurance also doubled to $20,000 for spouses and $10,000 for children. When you need this the most, some insurance is one of those things that we hate paying into, but when you need it and it's there, and you can see a check being taken to a family that's grieving and at the end of almost hope of how they're going to make ends meet, you realize how important this is. It's crucial. It really is. So I encourage more churches to join in. Greater involvement means spreading the risk and lowering payments for everybody. Our plan is a huge help to smaller churches, and it really is a good deal for larger churches as well. A church on their own misses out on benefiting from the purchasing power and stability of the larger group. So let's grow our plan together. As part of our commitment to supporting credential holders at every stage of ministry, we encourage you to consider your retirement journey. I'm doing that myself right now. It seemed like a long ways off back when I was 40 years old and decided to join the pension fund. But now I'm very happy that I did. And the PAOC pension plan offers a reliable and well-structured way to prepare for your future so you can serve today with peace of mind about tomorrow. Investing in our leaders emotionally and mentally is just as important as supporting them administratively and spiritually. Through the Shalem Mental Health Network, credential holders and their dependents have access to confidential counseling that's fully funded by the half-tithe component of district ministry support. One phone call can be the start of healing and support and renewal. We're so glad to be able to have this in place to support our ministering families. We continue to pour into leadership development through our partnership with Masters College and Seminary, through our French Language Bible College, Institut Biblique de Québec, accent and all, Aboriginal Bible Academy, serving Indigenous communities. We don't just cheer them on, but we financially support them. These institutions are raising up the next generation of Pentecostal leaders. if there's one thing that's constant, and that is that there's going to be change. But through every shift, our commitment remains strong, and that is to invest in our leaders, our churches, and our future. I recently had a phone conversation with a man who works in the financial sector, and after we hung up, he called me right back. And he said, I just have to share something with you. It may be a simple thought, but it's been very meaningful to me, he said. He told me that he said, I used to say, I've got to do this. But he says, now I say, I get to do this. That small shift in language changed his perspective, and it resounded with me. For the past 16 years, I haven't felt like I've had to do what I've done. This hasn't really even been work to me, but rather I get to do it. What a neat way to spend life, doing what you get to do rather than what you've got to do. I've been blessed to do it alongside of some truly wonderful people. Thank you for allowing me the privilege of serving with you.
Thank you, David. Questions? If there are any questions for the ASR, you can come to one of the microphones or online. We'll give you a moment in case there are. Well, then let me say, were you going to ask a question? Just go to the microphone. State your name, please. Should be on. Just our microphone here.
Yeah, there it is. Leon van Weerden. A question. You mentioned you have spoken with regards to the CACNI benefits. How do you request certain things? Because as you were talking, there were two things that I've actually discovered even in church life and supporting staff was a challenge. Number one, the counseling allocation of $500 that is within the CACNI benefits with the cost of counseling is basically 2.5 conversations. The Shalem benefits that you mentioned, also there we've had several times that if you would call them, if there is a counselor that you want to connect to a specific situation that really fits, but if they're not within the Shalem network, also that is very tight. So what can we do to request updates for those things? Because even though it's offered in a very nice way, it is also limited. And sometimes with the increase of cost for counseling and stuff, it really is not a lot.
Yeah.
How do we go about that?
I think I've got the gist of your question, Leon, that Shalem is a network of counselors. So with Shalem, we have a contract with them, an established relationship where they have the name of every credential holder in our district. And so when any credential holder would call and say, my name is such and such, and I would like to have my daughter have counseling, in the onboarding process, they'll look to the list, they'll find your name there, that you're a credential holder, and they'll cover it up to, we have our contractual arrangement with them is for $800 per individual. And so that's how that works. Now, there's times when you would like a counselor that's not part of the Shalem network. Unfortunately, it's very difficult for us to deal with individuals and connect them with counselors because we become in an adjudicating process, which we're hands off. When we get if you have gone for counseling through the Shalem Counseling Network, we will not know who you are. All we get is an invoice number that indicates and a trust arrangement that it is within our contractual arrangement with them. So they adjudicate it all. When it comes to your group health plan, there is an allowance in there, as you mentioned, of $500, but you're right, it doesn't go very far with today's rates. And the counselor that you're using through your own, who you've connected with, through your group health plan would have to be a registered therapist and so forth, meet the criteria. But they may not be affiliated with the Shalem Counseling Network. Your options are to challenge that counselor to become affiliated with the Shalem. Because in another way, and it's only fair in business for someone to you can't go through Shalem for your counseling and then all of a sudden take that counselor offline with Shalem and use them later. It's a breach of their contractual arrangements with Shalem. So it is a bit of a pinch point, and I realize that. And the only suggestion that I could make is that you encourage your counselor, if they prescribe to the ethical boundaries and the statements of Shalem, to connect with them, and then we can connect through Shalem.
That's why I'm bringing it up. Like, one, can we propose to CACNY to increase it from 500 to say 1,000? Because at least then that gives more wiggle room. But also we had a situation that we actually connected a counselor, local, good, all accredited, with Shalem. But eventually the counselor actually said no because Shalem was lowballing them. So the amount of number that they were willing to give per session, they said, this is just not what we're going to do, even though it was a very good counselor for that situation. So my question in that sense is, can we negotiate? Can we up that thing? Is there more wiggle room, or is this just the way it is? And if that's what it is, like, at least it's something that we're offering, so that's a good thing.
The hard answer is I don't think there's a way around this one.
Okay.
Sorry. Because of contracts that are involved. And because when we set the rates with the $500 per count for under CACNY, that's what we've agreed to across the nation. All the districts have said, yeah, that's the amount that but we realize in our district that that's not sufficient. And that's why we've engaged Shalem for the larger amount, and although they pay less to their counselors. Yeah, I get it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Please state your name for us.
Yeah, Henry Huberts. This question is, I don't know, it takes me some time to, you say you got a question, takes me a little bit to think what the question is that I want to ask. So this question's, David, you were responding, it was earlier, so I don't know if I can ask a question that's related to something, David, it was the minister's ministry fund that you were talking about earlier. Can I ask a question regarding that for a moment? Or is that subject closed? It's really a question that I really want to ask, that I wondered if you guys could think about for the future, really. Can I ask that question?
Well, it sounds like it was part of the financial report. And what I would suggest, by the way, this is Henry's first time with us. Can we welcome Henry to conference? Yeah, great to have you here, Henry. He's from the Lakeshore section. I'd recommend that you have a conversation with David afterwards. Happy to help, unless there's something that's specific to his report.
It is, but I guess I'll talk to David later, and you as the leaders can discuss it. But it is a question for everybody here, and it would be something that would benefit everybody in the future. So, but I will ask a question, talk to David, my friend, later. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Henry is pastoring in Caesarea, not Caesarea Philippi, but Caesarea, which is near Lindsay and Port Perry.
Sorry, just a point of order. We haven't moved to receive any reports yet, so I think everything's open for
You're
discussion.
absolutely correct. That's correct.
Henry, come on back up.
Yeah. Thank you. And that was Tim Stevens for our minutes who made that point of order. Thank you, Tim. You're absolutely correct.
Thanks, man. Now I'm really feeling like, that heat, Yeah. Okay, here's the question. So I noticed that there were, I think it was 61 churches, between 20 members and 100. And, when you only have 20 members, sometimes the pastor, they can't really afford to pay the pastor a full salary. But sometimes the pastor needs to give more time to that church than part-time to be able to get that church to really start growing. And so the question is there a way that, because we're talking about supporting, investing back into our churches and our pastors and our leaders overall, is there a way in the future because you know I came from a different denomination. We're not going to mention that right now. But they had a fund to help pastors who were churches where they couldn't afford to pay the pastors. They had a fund that they could send to help supplement the stipend or the the pay that the pastor would receive. So I'm new. I maybe there is a spot in there. I haven't heard about it. But if there isn't, could you guys look at that and maybe find a way to support those pastors that, you know, they only have 20 or 30 people and they can't afford to pay more, but it would be good to support that minister somehow. That's my question. Could we find a way to do that? Yep. Thanks.
Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to talk to that one or not.
I think it was directed to you.
Okay. I think I've spoken enough today, actually. No, thank you, Henry. We've looked at this over the years. We're a fellowship of churches, Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada. So different assemblies come in that are self-governing, that determine their own budgets, their own salaries. They spend money the way that they value their money to be spent. We do have a provision for an assembly to become an assisted assembly, but they lose some of that self-governing power. Bad word, but just so we understand what we're saying, because it does bring the district, a representative from the district, to your board table. So we're not just writing a check, but we're part of determining if things need to be adjusted and decisions need to be made. And we're there to help those decisions to come for consideration. So that provision is in place. Many times churches would say, just the check, please. We really would like to take care of this ourselves. And it can become a perpetual assistance. And if the check is withdrawn, all of a sudden the district is the bad guy who's closing our church because they pulled their money, rather than self-determination. And there are other options at times to lowering salaries. I'm not going to give you any example, but you know, you work through the options. And those, we really respect the self-governance of a local assembly. We really do. And their willingness to proceed through the options and to make their determination for their future. There are times when we can help them over a difficult place, and we do, and we have, and we always will, I expect. But there needs to be a solution in view. There needs to be something that's going to turn the corner to help that church find the way to be self-supporting. We have definitions in the local church constitution of what defines a self-governing assembly, and one of them is the ability to finance themselves, as well as to adequately form a church board, to take care of their pastor. You know, these are things that define a self-governing assembly. And there is a hard moment when a church would say, I'm not sure, we've only got 3 of those 5 covered. If we drop one more, I think we really need to look at what our future is going to be. That's hard talk. Those are hard decisions, and they're not fun. But I'm putting them all in front of you because we're adults and we can look at things objectively. So the answer to the question, we have a provision in place for that now, but it's short term, and it's meant to be short term. The exclusion to it is when a self-governing assembly is determined by the district executive to be a mission because of their placement in an urban center, or because of something that makes them unique as to qualify for mission status. And then the subsidy could be extended over a longer period of time. That's my response.
You're here first, AJ. Sorry, EJ, go ahead.
Sorry, I was being very quiet and cat-like. I apologize. This is just a follow-up to the previous dialogue regarding mental health support and inquiry. So I would just like to give a comment and send a proposal for the district to consider for consideration. Of course, that means there's no response now. It's just please think about this. And basically, my proposal is for a possible working group to be created to figure out how to expand mental health supports for our credential holders. Partially, two issues come to mind. One being a generational shift of younger leaders being more open to mental health supports, which could also be a very healthy shift to be a deterrent for burnout. So this might actually be a good solution for us. And I believe, David Blakely, we had this discussion before regarding my concerns on cultural competency issues with some therapists. And I've experienced this myself when there's a mismatch. And I understand your concern that the district shouldn't take the seat of trying to find a therapist for you. However, there might be some feasible solutions that a working group can propose and bring to the table. And I guess I would just like for some greater thought, for some expanded support for mental health help with our credential holders. Thank you.
Please say your name.
Not on? On. My name is Nate Vanos. I'm a pastor in Ottawa. One, just to kind of add to EJ, building up something for burnout would be huge, especially in mental health and even the restoration process. Having gone through that in a different district, the counseling allowance burned out fast, even though that was a part of the restoration process. So it's like, we'll support you this far, and then you're on your own. But if you don't complete the restoration process, you can't come back into ministry. So it's kind of a weird catch. My real question, though, is more for David in regards to how much influence does the EOND have in regards to the pension fund and the interest rates that they charge? Because I've loved the presentation all day of we want to inspire local churches, we want to invest, all of these things, we want to expand and do more church planting. But when you look at those numbers of how many churches we have and what size they are, a lot of those do carry mortgages, or their buildings are old and they need to carry a mortgage. And when we're hit with 7.25%, 100 grand of my budget is just in interest. And that's really hard to invest in my local community or hear you guys be like, we're going to plant churches. I'm like, I love that. I'm drowning and my church may be the one that dies because of the interest rate from the PAOC. So do we have any influence in that, or is that another kind of, yeah, that's someone else's problem, we can't really do much about it?
Not to pass the buck.
Okay, that's why, that's cool.
But I actually have to.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not at that table. However, there is someone at this table who is at that table. And that would be our superintendent.
I mean, he's coming to visit in a couple of weeks, so I'll harass him.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. No, we hear that, and at the district level, we actually don't become engaged.
Sure.
In that, but it's a concern, and I do hear it.
I would then just
and I am sympathetic towards it.
I would
yeah.
just add it to everyone that's been up as we're talking about investing in the local church. That money management mortgage piece is huge because it limits your ministry, and it's hard to hear a district say, we're going to plant these churches as smaller churches are drowning out.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nate. Thanks for your ministry in Greeley too, by the way. Thank you.
There's
Ottawa. Okay. I want to thank David, and his wife Kathy is here in the second row, for 16 years plus of district ministry. David has exemplified what it means to be steadfast and to lead with integrity and excellence in management. And your report sounded almost like a bit of a goodbye there at the end. And the next two resolutions are actually about David's position. So we'll see what happens, but and we'll explain as we go. Friends, we need to move on, and so we're going to come to resolution number 2, and I'm going to invite Jeff Hillier to come. Would you welcome Jeff as he comes? Jeff is the chair of our resolutions committee. He serves on our district executive, highly involved around our executive. He serves on a number of our committees. He is the presbyter for the capital section, the lead pastor of Community Orleans, and Jeff is going to be presenting these resolutions on behalf of the district executive and the resolutions committee.
Thank you, Jason. Resolution number 2 reads, whereas the current 4-year term of the Assistant to the Superintendent Resources, ASR, is concluding at this 2025 district conference, and whereas the serving ASR has indicated that he will not be available for re-election for a full term, and whereas the district executive is requesting a period of time in which to identify a nominee to present to the conference for ratification, therefore, be it resolved that the current term of the serving ASR be extended for up to 12 months, and be it further resolved that the term of office for the incoming ASR be adjusted to reflect the number of months involved in this extension of term. I so move.
Thank you, Jeff. Can we have a seconder, please? It's been seconded. So on behalf of the chair of the resolutions committee and the executive, would you like to just explain a bit of the rationale behind this resolution?
Yeah, sure. We've been wrestling with the reality that David is coming to the end of his service with us of his own volition. We all love him and have great admiration, and he has been part of the team that has really changed the financial trajectory for our district. We would like him to stay on until Jesus comes back, but that's not in his plans. And so as we begin to consider our options, we realize that this is a bit of a challenge replacing him. I think one of the things that has been really difficult is that we have been trying to replicate who David is and all the giftings that are in his life. And that may not be possible. As we've considered various individuals who could potentially fulfill the role, we always seem to have something that's missing. And so we've begun to talk about what it could look like moving forward, and we feel that we don't have an individual name to present to the conference at this time. And so we want to ask the ASR to give us up to 12 months. We actually want it to be more months, but he has said that no more than 12 months. So that was the reason why that's there. And the second part is really something that we've been practicing. If you remember, a number of years ago at one of our district conferences, we made sure that our superintendent and our ASR and our ASM were not all changing in the same election year. And so we've staggered it. And we want to ensure that keeps happening with the 4-year terms. And so whoever would come in within the next 12 months would fulfill the remainder of the 4-year term that would start today.
Thank you, Jeff. So that's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions about the proposed resolution? Thank you.
It's more of a clarification, Michael Kraus, that I think the purpose of the resolution isn't to extend the term, it's to shift the start date of the term. Is that correct?
could you repeat what you just said?
So what I'm saying is that if David was elected for another term, he could resign in a year and have a new person come. So their term would start next year. And then you would still have that offset. I'm not sure if that was considering, I'm just thinking that the resolution may be a bit redundant for that reason. And I understand why you want to do it, and I have no big problem with it. I'm just, as a kind of a point of order, is this resolution necessary?
I think we did talk about this, and we are actually following the will of David.
Okay, I can see.
Not even the will of the Lord, just the will of David. The reason is if we did that, it would be open-ended.
Right.
And David's wish, it puts a little bit of pressure on the district executive by saying it's up to 12 months. With him being elected today, if we were to go what you're suggesting and then resign at some point, that's a 4-year term without any end date.
Right.
Well, 4 years from now. And so it does put a little bit of pressure on us, and there's some intentionality there.
Okay, so it's the David Blakely resolution then. Okay, I got it.
Not just on this issue.
In full disclosure, I want to say that David Blakely has been very transparent to the staff and to the executive in his posture of notifying us that an end needs to come. David is spending time with his grandchildren, which makes me happy. And he's actually beginning to use his holiday, which, if anyone knows David, that's a big deal. And we're proud of him for that. So he's taken steps to adjusting to new life. Kathy probably would have been fine with 2 years to lend him to us a little bit longer, but David has things to do. And as Jeff said, in his integrity, he knew that to be elected and then resign at some point, he just knew that he would never fulfill that term. And so therefore the recommendation is that we would simply extend this term for 12 months so that it gives us time as an executive to vet and find that next candidate, prepare them, and that there is an end date for him and that there's some cross-training and things like that. So that's the rationale about the reason and the plan of doing it forward. And that's why the executive have brought it forward to you for your consideration as a conference. So if there are no other further questions, are you ready for the question? Okay, so I declare that ballot number 5, resolution extension of term, is now open. The ballot will be closed when the timer on the screen reaches 0. So you can take your time now to answer that ballot, to make your ballot and mark it. And while we're doing that, I believe we've got our hosts who are coming up, Jeremy and Gabriella. Welcome back.
All right, wow, this is fun. This is fun stuff. Tough job for us, just creating a little bit of lighter moments here, but we have, we're going to do that with the giveaway today.
My first
right?
conference. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, Gabriella, this is a treat today. You're doing so great. Great questions, great reports. In all seriousness, we're blessed to be part of a great family. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, 3 people. Cool. All right. So we're going to give something away. We had a pre-conference ballot.
If you checked your digital booklet and you read your email, you would have known we had a fun little contest going on. We asked you guys how many books you have read in the year 2024.
That's right.
And
How
it
many
was
books?
Very impressive.
I was blown away by this.
I was blown away because I'm part of the 0 Books a Year Club, which is tough. Pray for me and my attention span.
We got some others out there.
Thank you.
Apparently.
To you guys.
You should start your own little group.
Yes. Let's meet in the lobby after this.
You could like watch videos or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Okay. We're going to reveal. Do you want to give us a little drum roll?
Little drum roll on your laps.
Wow.
All right.
A little drum roll, please.
Who read the third most amount of books in our district on the screen?
Frank Patrick.
Pastor Frank
with 60
60 books in a
Very
year.
impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
Mhm.
Impressive. But not as impressive.
As our second place.
Second place is none other than
Fontana Arnold with
Fontana
126
from Bethel
books.
in Ottawa. 126 books. I don't even know how that's possible.
Which when that came in, I was like, for sure, that's our winner.
I thought that would be our winner for sure. Like, what does she do? I guess we know what she does in her spare time.
Yes. However, would you please give it up for our first
Our
place
grand prize winner is Pastor Jean Bird.
with 150.
150. Where is Pastor Jean? There she is, right there.
She is, Pastor Jean, you may grab your prize at the registration desk. They've got something special for you back there. Congratulations and very impressive.
This is so incredible. I worked it out. It took me a while, but I did this. That works out. The math works out to just over 3 books a week. That's crazy.
I haven't even
That's
read
crazy.
3 books in a year, Pastor Jean. Give me
Well,
your tips.
you can get on this.
Yeah.
But we have something
Something
on top
fun.
of this. We
did a
compiled a
little-
list.
In that same question, we asked our leaders what your favorite book is, and we actually put together EO&D's picks for you. So if you
There it
are
is.
a leader who's a reader, feel free to scan the QR code, and you'll have access to this cool collection of books. Look, we got
Some of the top reads of
Some of the
our
top
family
reads.
are right there on the screen.
I
You can get
did
the whole
do a
list.
study for practicing the way, but I watched it. So does that count?
No.
Okay.
No, you got to read. So
I really
until we're up again, maybe you could read something. Well, I got something for you to read over here. So let's go.
Thank
Leave
you.
these guys alone. I think actually,
Do we? are
no, we don't.
No,
we don't.
We don't. Have
We
time.
don't. We're back to our chairman, Pastor Jason. It's back to you.
Bye, Pastor Jason.
Just waiting for the results of our last resolution. Are we close? We're getting close. Okay. We'll just fill a bit of time. One question I've gotten asked often about David and the extension of his term, and after we made this public, is can we clone David? And the correct answer is not legally. So figure that out yourself. So we do have the results of that resolution, and we'll show. David, would you like to stay for one more year with us? Maybe I shouldn't ask you. The conference has voted to keep you around for one more year, 100%. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I will sleep much better in this next year. We thank God for you very, very much. We have another resolution. Jeff has come back to read resolution number 3 about constitutional amendment.
Resolution number 3, whereas the assistant to the superintendent resources role does not necessarily require an individual to hold an ordained credential, and whereas adjusting the qualifying requirements for this position will broaden the search parameters for potential candidates, therefore be it resolved that bylaw 3.1.1 be amended as follows. 3.1.1 executive officers, the officers of the district shall be ordained. We've removed the word ordained and put in credentialed ministers of mature experience, sound judgment, recognized ability, and Christian character. They shall have ministered at least 7 consecutive years as credentialed ministers with the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada prior to their election. The superintendent and the assistant to the superintendent ministry shall hold an ordained credential. I so move.
Thank you, Jeff. That's been moved. We have a seconder for that resolution. Thank you. It's been seconded. Before questions, do you want to give any rationale to this resolution on behalf of the executive?
Yeah, pretty simple, and it's within the resolution is that it's really to broaden our pool for searching. We have seen even in some of our districts lately that there has been adjustments on the parameters for who they hire for an officer role, including some districts that have looked towards that will allow now for officers coming from other districts. That's just our reality with our leadership crisis. And so as we've been thinking about who we can bring to this role, we've recognized that our own parameters are being restrictive and we just need to open it up. We don't feel that the ordained element is necessary for the role. We've discussed it with David with regards to the various roles and tasks or portfolios and tasks that he has. And he would be in agreement that this is not a necessary component. If we found somebody who was ordained, that would be great, but it's not necessary.
Thank you, Jeff. The other thing that you should be aware of in terms of process for selecting the ASM is it's different from the ASR, is it's different from the ASM position. The ASM is a nomination ballot, where the ASR is more of a ratification ballot because the executive are the ones who work to find an individual, vet an individual, prepare them in order to present them to you, the conference, to then ratify. So there are a few protocols in place as well. Just wanted you to understand the difference. But if there are any questions about the resolution, we give you opportunity now to ask.
Tim Stevens. I think this position I would be in opposition to it. I think it does carry a weight, and we use ordination as a way of kind of measuring a weight in our fellowship. And I think one of the things that we all appreciate about David, for those who have dealt with him, is his pastoral approach to how he deals with the finances. I believe, as we've said today, we want to be led by the Spirit, trust the Spirit. I think that the things that I'm guessing we're finding missing in some of our candidates that might be ordained would be some things that could be taught. I would be in full favor if the district wanted to fund someone to go through a nonprofit management certificate through a college or university, or a human resources. Those are one-year programs at any college in Ontario. And perhaps that's even something that we might want to look at moving forward, that if the district were to provide scholarships for some pastors, some associate pastors that are identified, that could then have those qualifications, not only for this position, but just moving forward as a district, that we have people with those skills. I think as we're talking about resourcing leaders, that would be a really good way to do it. The other thing is just in how we are approaching the search. I know Western Ontario, in their last, as they're searching for different roles in the district, they've begun not just kind of going internal, but actually promoting it on the PAOC website, where then people from other districts are aware of the position and could apply as needed.
Thank you. So just for clarity, you're speaking against the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just had a question to sort
State
of.
your name, please.
Kathleen Krinsky. I just had a question about so if it's a minister who's been ministering for at least 7 consecutive years as a credentialed minister in the PAOC, what is it that would have prevented them from being able to be ordained? Like, would it be their, whether they're part-time or full-time, would it be their level of Bible college education? I'm just wondering what would theoretically prevent someone who's been ministering for 7 years with credentials from being ordained? Would it be the Bible college component? So I'm just curious about that.
You want to speak to that, David?
It's a very good question. And sometimes it's just a matter of the individual hasn't pursued ordination. Sometimes, most likely, the scenario would be they haven't yet achieved either the time in ministry or the theological education. So if they're at perhaps because we didn't specify a grade of credential in this resolution, it could be someone who's at the very end of their ministry related journey and they're just waiting ordination. So it could be anyone on the path. So it could really be open to a lot of different factors there, a lot of variables.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
Hi, Andrew Raynard from here at KGT. I understand that it could be difficult finding somebody to replace you because of the unique skill sets and things that are just necessary for the role. Would you be able to just give a brief overview of what those unique skills or requirements or qualifications would be?
Thank you. That's a good question. He's looking for a document because we've been documenting his role in anticipation of a change. So I'm assuming that's what he's calling up right now.
Not to bore you, but let's start with legal. When to obtain legal opinions on things like real estate, HR, liability, things that are current legal issues relating to nonprofits and charities. Then there's the financial, of course, what you've heard me talk about today. Then there's the credentials. I oversee, this role oversees the credentialing of individuals, the keeping current with the national standards and the general constitution. And then there's constitutional, reviewing our constitution, making sure that it's keeping up to date with what's going on in the world and in our relationship with local churches and national office. And we are an incorporated entity, so we need to comply with the rules and regulations of an Ontario non-for-profit corporation. Then there is the group health plan that we've already talked about. Then there is property management that I've referred to in the district properties. Then there's risk management, and this one scares me all the time because you can never eliminate risk, you can only manage risk. And the last thing I want to do is someday someone look back and say, who signed that? And so, you know, I'm always very, very cautious about that and making sure insurance coverage is up to date. There's being a resource to church boards, being able to go into a boardroom and understand the dynamics of a boardroom, which includes the pastor who is often the chair and the board, and helping them to come to face their challenges and what they're looking for outside help. We're there as a guest. We don't come in with self-appointed authority. We come in on an invitation and have to win the room sometimes. And then there's administration. I manage some of the district executive appointed committees and in charge of all the minutes of our entities. And then there's the presence in the office.
You don't want to do this for much longer? Andrew?
And if I could just follow up, what qualifications would somebody need to look at if they were preparing for that? What qualifications are you looking for, just to help us understand how these adjustments are helpful?
Thank you. They're specified in our district constitution, but in specific, it talks about a financial acumen. So, you know, you can go down through the list of the qualifications in general, and list of duties, but it comes to the one thing that's specifically singled out is having a financial acumen. And so that's where the district executive's area of responsibility is perhaps not necessarily specifying you need to have this degree, that degree, the other degree, but being able to ascertain that this person has the qualifications to meet what we're looking for, as opposed to perhaps a transcript from a university that has certain courses on it.
Hello, Kathleen Krinsky again. Just one question. Would the district executive ever consider like splitting it into two positions? Is that something that's like it just seems like a lot of work, like you described all that. And I was like, wow, can one person really do all that? Like, so that's just me putting an open question out there.
Thank you. The short answer is yes. So the executive has had that very discussion. And so whether there's, structural change or whatnot, that would be something later, but we have absolutely talked about that for the reasons you mentioned. Yes.
Jean Bird, a credentialed minister of mature judgment would not necessarily have ever been a pastor, right?
I didn't hear the question. Can you say it again, please, Jean?
If you could have done 7 credentialed years of ministry without ever being a pastor.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's correct.
So in our church, we have had Dave come several times when we've been in the changing pastors. And the fact that he was a pastor presumably helps him deal with us and the dealing with the board issue. So would that make it difficult for somebody coming in if they had not been in ministry to fulfill that role within the local church?
It would, and that's why having someone with pastoral experience is part of the scope of search, ideally.
So ideally, you still want somebody ordained.
Yes. Well, not necessarily ordained, but rather someone with a church pastoral experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
The resolution actually says credentialed ministers. So I believe the terminology actually refers to somebody with some pastoral involvement.
But not all ministers. I'm thinking like in some churches, they have people who are minister of IT or minister, like they're not.
Yeah, there could be a chaplain, there could be a
Yeah,
What this
ministry
does,
specialist.
yeah.
what I think this does, as it came from, it was the discussion around the district executive, is an individual could be involved in the secular realm with regards to finances or legislative issues, but have a initial credential and be putting in a certain amount of hours a week towards pastoral ministry. They may not have pursued all the theological education to get them ordained. They want to be connected to the PAOC. They have some pastoral experience, but they also bring some significant secular acumen to the roles that David has just talked about. So that's where it allows us a little bit of pastoring, but some significant other issues that are not necessarily pastoral or that might be there for an ordained individual.
Good afternoon, Scott Bullerwell. By the way, it's good to see three of of the four people on the platform as former students of mine. I'm glad to see you stayed awake and that I gave you A's for your involvement. I did do some work on looking at bylaws across our fellowship, all 8 of them. Consistently, 7 of the 8 speak of people occupying your particular portfolios as being ordained, along, of course, with executive members and officers and members at large. There was one, I have to come clean, there was one district I couldn't get into on their website. They had a password, is in the Maritimes. So I punched in the word Jesus could come today, but it wouldn't let me in. So I guess they don't believe Jesus could come today. I don't know. But be that as it may, I'd like to speak, Mr. Chairman, against the resolution. And here are my reasons for it. But before I do, I want to ask the question, and perhaps Pastor Jeff is able to answer this. I notice in the resolution that the first whereas says that the assistant to the superintendent resources role does not, here are the key words, necessarily require an individual to hold an ordained credential. I'd like to know exactly what the source of that not necessarily is. I've looked over the Constitution and bylaws, and I see 3.1 and I see 3.1.1, but I can't find that necessarily requires. Can you point me in the right direction?
You're asking me.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I fell asleep in your class. Never forget that moment. Professor Bullerwell, I think that the word or the phrase not necessarily is a subjective one that is not following some certain, not specific elements of our Constitution. But because this is this would be a new part of our Constitution, it's reflective of something that David has identified, that there are some of the things that we would need, such as the financial element, the legislative element, that those are not issues that are necessarily there for an ordained individual. Each of us who've been a lead pastor have recognized that we hit moments on issues such as these that we were never trained for in Bible college. And so we were trained for ministry. Some of these elements are not what we were trained for. And so that's where that phrase is directing us towards, that the not necessarily is about those tasks that are separate from what we were trained for.
Fair enough. The reason I ask it is because it seems to me that that first whereas is a little artificial. It doesn't direct me to any particular credential bylaw that I can appeal to for that necessarily. So when I look at, for example, 3.1.1 as it's currently written, it's clear that it tells us that the officers of the district shall be ordained. Well, that would be all of them. It would be all of them, because if I go to Article 9 of our Constitution under officers and board of directors, and specifically 9.1 and 9.2, it tells me that these officers include executive officers, which you folk three happen to be. So I think the first whereas that you put there is contrived, it's forced, it's artificial, or Pastor Jeff, to use your word, subjective. I understand the nature of it. It's intended to strengthen the resolution. I understand that, but it's a very weak argument. So really the first whereas should be eliminated because it deflects attention from really what we should be dealing with. Secondly, we do have 8 districts across Canada. And after a review of the bylaws, as I said, of 7 of the 8, because Jesus apparently isn't coming, it requires that all officers be ordained credential holders, suggesting to me at least that there's this consistent logic across our fellowship that our officers should have achieved a certain level of credential given their importance and the value that we place in them. I mean, you have very peculiar, interesting roles to play. The only constitution I couldn't get was, but by faith, I assume it says the same thing, that executive officers should in fact be ordained. Thirdly, currently the 12 who make up the district executive, or what we call the board of directors, is comprised of executive officers, sectional presbyters, of which there are 8, and of course the 2 members at large. And they're all required to be ordained. Even the assistant superintendent of ministry must be ordained. Deviating from that standard, or from what we would call that normal, and targeting only the office of the assistant of the superintendent resources, in my view, diminishes the status and the role that person plays among their peers. Number 4, there are currently 6 categories of credentials. And if this resolution were to pass, the person chosen could be from any of the other 5 categories. The proposal today offers this conference no written assurances that the person who is ultimately elected to the position of the assistant superintendent of resources will necessarily be a licensed minister. In fact, the language of the resolution before us could permit anyone who has never been a pastor to serve in this role, and I find that troubling. 5th, an ordained person comes to the office of the assistant of the superintendent, essentially with an additional 2 years of proven ministry over other credential category requirements. In other words, the one who is currently required to be ordained for 7 years, according to our bylaws, 3.1.1, will likely have a solid 9 years of experience. That is 7 years plus 2 more years working towards ordination. Changing this to the more generic 7 credentialed years begs the question of exactly how much ministry experience that executive officer will have when they sit in their role. Increasing experience is, in my view, a significant asset to our district governance model. Think of it. The resources role person deals, as we've already been informed, with insurance, legal matters, benefits, credentialing, AGM board scenarios, conducting board meetings, clergy housing, church transitions, and on it goes. The position needs every possible ministry experience available to help them govern in their role. Number 6. The assistant of the superintendent resource person oversees the credentialing process. Like the resources person, for example, and you know this, Pastor David, you chair a team during credential interviews, and you participate with that team in determining who is granted credentials and who is not, including those, of course, who are seeking ordination. Imagine the resources person not being ordained, yet conferring an ordination credential. In practical terms, let's put it this way. Imagine that a major in the Army sits on the promotion board to decide whether the major should become a colonel. Really? Finally, while doing finances within the district does not require ordination, there are lots of other roles that my brother fulfills in a pastoral way. It requires a pastoral experience. It requires pastoral insight. It requires pastoral oversight as well. I think the executive needs to return to the drawing board and come up with a better strategy, like perhaps dividing the office, as has already been suggested. And I also like what Pastor Jeff mentioned here about looking outside of the district, so that maybe then what we could say is this, maybe perhaps bylaw 3.1 that says, who has been ministering within the district for at least 1 year immediately preceding their election. Maybe that should be revised to simply say within the fellowship itself, rather than having to remain within the district. I think to do otherwise diminishes the importance of the credential that's needed for a person in that position. And so I would speak against the motion, and I would ask that this conference return the matter back to your hands and consider other possibilities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Scott. Brother Bullerwell.
Mr. Superintendent?
Yes.
Point of order, and then I'd like to speak in favor of it. We have had 2 back-to-back motions against the resolution, and we should have had one for it and then one against it. I will speak to the for it. I do think that we need to consider 2 things. We need to look backwards and we need to look forwards. Looking backwards, we have at times hired individuals who have all the pastoral giftings but have not had the acumen that David has. And it has created very difficult moments, not just in our district, but in other districts, because we continue to operate with the same paradigm. Second thing is we need to look forward. As we recognize our leadership vacuum, our leadership crisis in the PAOC, we're going to need to make some adjustments. So, Brother Bullerwell, when it comes to what you talked about with regards to the credential meeting, the individual who was our ASR might not sit in those meetings, might simply facilitate it. They are not responsible for necessarily being in the room. They are responsible for ensuring that the acts of that process are committed or are done. And so I think that we are going to need to think in creative ways and think outside of our current governance model, our current way of doing things, if we're going to move things forward. There are individuals who are in the secular realm who may not have an official pastoral title, may not have pastored a church. But friends, if we believe in Ephesians, Ephesians 4, there are pastoral giftings within them. There are individuals who are in your congregations who have great acumen in the areas that David has talked about, who also have pastoral skills, who could step in with maturity and wisdom into some of the situations that we are concerned about without having ever pastored a church. And so I'd like to speak for the motion.
Thank you. I think if I'm correct, Robert's Rules of Order encourages back and forth, but it's not always necessary in my reading of it. But I confer to our parliamentary. Either way, we've got a motion in favor of the motion. You state your name, please.
My name's Scott. Can I just ask a question about the process? If we're short on leaders and we're trying to find the right person for the role, and the conference decides not to make an amendment, could there be an exemption made for a specific candidate who would fit that role at this time? If we're not finding someone, or we can't find someone, could there be an exemption made for a season to have someone fulfill that role without having to make an amendment to the Constitution?
You want to speak to that?
I don't think that we can override our Constitution. I think it's binding. Our Constitution is how we've agreed to conduct ourselves. And those are the rules that we've all agreed that we're going to operate under. And I think it'd be difficult for us to set that aside. It's good problem solving, though.
I want to also explain that this particular vote is not a simple majority. It actually it would require 2/3 because it's a proposed amendment to our Constitution. So thankfully, that mechanism that we have is to ensure that if we're going to change anything in the Constitution, there has to be a lot of support for it. So I really appreciate the dialogue and the conversation that we had, because we want you to be well informed of what this could mean or what it is. I mean, there's always the intent behind a resolution, but there's also the practicality of it. So I appreciate the dialogue. Are there any more questions before we call to the vote? Oh, there's an online question as well.
Should online go first?
Yes, if you're okay with that. Ethan.
Yeah,
Thank
I've
you.
talked too much. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry.
Thank you. This question is from David Toussaint. Let me just pull that up. David is in Hawkesbury. He asks, what does the process look like in the case of recruiting a new ASR for our district? Would you like to speak to that?
I think the process would start with someone submitting a resume and then it would be determined if there should go to the next step and meet with this individual and conduct a bit of an interview. Then I think the individual should be introduced to the district executive so they have the same opportunity. And then when they're along that journey, when there is confidence in the ability of the candidate, then I think the talk gets serious about presenting the candidate to the conference as a nominee of the district executive. Sound right?
EJ?
Yes, EJ again. I'm sorry again. I'd like to speak for the motion and in response to Dr. Bullerwell. A little bit, I still love you, my friend. But I'd like to argue that the rationale of this goes beyond mere practicalities, that the conversation on General Conference regarding expanding our voting bar for credentialed ministers is also to radically affirm people who have been invited in the room and not given full participation. And that rationale to me is very in line with our tradition, where we were the ones kicked out of churches and we had to come up with our own communities because we were ostracized and asked to leave. And I commend General Conference passing that motion. And I believe this is in tune with that. And moreover, from a theological standpoint, I have argued many times for an expanded view of the priesthood, once again, that somehow we have relegated the technical role of pastor as somehow above everything else when we look at Levitical priesthood as of having other duties, like looking over policies and procedures, which is a lot of what Pastor David Blakely has done through the years. I also believe that we are overdue for a credentialing reform, that we have unfortunately, I believe, stymied some really gifted people by mere technicalities. And I applaud our desire to move towards widening our tent, because I believe that's our tradition as Pentecostals, especially considering the original way we all ordained each other is after Pentecostals got kicked out of their churches, we ordained each other in a circle. So somehow I'd like to go back to that spiritual mantle and recognize that the technicalities can easily be sorted out, but there are technical giftings that are necessary for our fellowship And I do believe part of our attention today is the giftedness of Pastor David Blakely and recognizing that there are technical elements to how we serve and how we govern well is also a reflection of how we serve our people and our communities. And I'm pretty sure all of us can point to poor policies and procedures as being the downfall of some great, great faith communities. And I would hate for that to be jeopardized because we're hung up on a few technicalities. Thank you.
Is there anyone willing to speak against the motion? Is there no one else to speak against the motion? Ready for the question? Well, we have a question here as well.
I do. I'm the Reverend David Blakely's wife, Kathy.
This may be a conflict of interest.
Might be. So we'll be married 46 years this year, this August. And as the wife of him who's been nothing but a workaholic for those 46 years, could someone answer what I'm going to do with him when he comes home? Anybody have any ideas?
Wow. Wow. I heard a few people calling for the question. Are you ready for the question now? I'll just deflect really fast, David, from that. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the great discussion. This is so helpful. And so our question is, so I do declare ballot number 6, the resolution from number 3 of the constitutional amendment now open. The ballot will be closed when the timer on the screen reaches 0. Please take a moment to do that. Check your email and then vote. While we're waiting for that response, I'm still thinking about Kathy's comments there. I do want to say a word about Shalem. We don't have a video to show you, but I can tell you that every executive meeting we get a report of Shalem, and it is being actively used. It's not a perfect system. We get feedback from people, good, bad, and ugly, and we take that, and we've actually had good conversations with them to try to make it better. But as David described earlier, our system allows us to say yes quickly. But I've also heard the suggestion today of a working group and doing more assessment and evaluation. So we've caught that. Our executive are listening to these conversations as well. So thank you for that. But I do want to acknowledge that paying this service forward as credential holders is very significant. When we go through a credential interview, this is something that we like to tell them, that you're entering into a fellowship in a district where others have paid this forward for you as a care mechanism. And as EJ said, it is a bit of a changing culture, and the younger generation are much more open to getting help in this area. I can tell you in way of testimony that about 14 years ago, my wife and I, when we were pastoring, we hit a really rough spot. The church was doing well, but just internally, we were under a lot of pressure, and we had some outside external things happening that added more pressure. And it really showed us that there were issues in our communication that we weren't addressing. And I remember saying to Colleen, you know, there is a provision, a resource for us that we could use. And she agreed. And so we went to a Shalem counselor. The first session was, why are you here? The second session was, okay, let's get into the issue and let's talk about things to help you. And then the third session was, let's begin to build new tools in how you communicate with one another. And I can honestly say that those sessions helped us break through some barriers that we just had in our own limitations of communication as husband and wife, and even as individuals. And it wasn't long after that, in our church and in our ministry that the Lord began sending couples to us. Even though I was the lead pastor, we had people that came to us now after that. They didn't know that we went through that counseling, but it was like the Lord knew. And they came and they shared and they opened up, and we were able to help them through how we were helped. So I just want to acknowledge that this is a great thing that we have for each other. And I want to thank you for continuing to fund it. And we will continue to scrutinize it and improve it so that it can be as best a resource as it can possibly be. So those are our words about Shalem and this resource. So thank God that we have it. The ballot got hung up. It's coming. Okay. So I believe it's just being launched now at the back. Can you wave at me? Is the ballot being launched now? Godfrey, is it being launched now? That's good. Can we reset the clock, please? We now declare that ballot open. Thank you for taking your time to respond. Yeah. We have two more resolutions to do. One is more of a kind of a housekeeping resolution, and the next one is a potential constitution amendment as well. We do want to be mindful of your time. I hear that there is a hockey game tonight that probably is of interest to some of you. Has anyone heard if the goalie will be playing? He's not. So we'll have to have prayer for the Maple Leafs before we go. We seem to be having a technical issue with this particular ballot. It has been launched and it shows it's running, but we're not being able to verify if it's actually gone out yet. Just by way of hands, have you received the ballot yet in your emails? So it's starting to come? It's out now. Wonderful. Thank you for doing that. Just to save some time, we will be moving to ballot number 7 soon, but I'll just do a little bit of a preamble for it. It's an election for our PAOC General Executive, and we have the opportunity to populate the executive with 2 people, to provide 2 names to the executive. One is a credentialed person from our district, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in a moment. And the other is to provide a name for the general conference to vote on, to get acumen around the room. And one of those people who are a representative on the general executive is from our district, and they're in the room here today, and that is Stephen Shu, who's part of our parliamentary committee. And he's worthy of your applause. He has served and represented Eastern Ontario now for a while. He was part of the SOET team and did a lot of work for that. And now he's part of audit and finance and doing a lot of work behind the scenes with that. So Stephen, I just wanted to honor you and thank you for your service on our behalf at the General Executive. Thank you very much. So in a moment, after we get through the results of our last resolution, we will be moving to ballot number 7 to bring forth a name of a credential holder from Eastern Ontario to serve on the General Executive, and we'll present those names in a moment. Just waiting to get the results of our last election. Maybe a good time to stand up and stretch for a moment. Jeremy and Gabriella are not here to lead us, but you need to stretch. I know I do. Stretch your legs a little bit. The results are coming in shortly. Okay, we have the results of resolution number 3. And based on the conversation that we had, it's indicative of the results. So if you're ready to show that, it was yes was 56 in favor, no was 44% in favor. So that resolution did not pass because a 2/3 majority is required to make any constitutional amendment. So thanks for your participation in that vote. That helps inform our executive now as we go forward in our search in this next year for the new ASR. We come to ballot number 7, which I shared earlier. It's the election it's election ballot for our PAOC General Executive credential. And so we've got 3 names to present to you. And these are from our executive that have put these names forward. And it's more of you choosing of one of the 3. So the following names are being submitted in alphabetical order. Karina Shea, and I've seen Karina here today. I believe she's here. Eric Tremblay. Eric is participating online today. And Leon Van Vierden. So these are the 3 names before you. Your job is to select one name. And in the back, just give me a wave if we're ready to proceed. All right. So I do declare that ballot number 7, election PAOC General Executive credentialed, is now open. The ballot will be closed when the timer on the screen reaches 0. Thank you for your participation. And as you vote, I'm going to allow for Jeremy Albrecht to come back to the stage, please.
All right. Hopefully that one is working a little smoother this time. Just want to talk to you about healthy leader clusters for a second. A few years ago, I was asked to start leaning into leadership health initiatives for our district. It's been outlined many times already today during discussion about how important it is for our leaders to be healthy. Amen? And I'm a firm believer now coming up to 10 years serving in district, that healthy leaders produce healthy ministries. Firm believer of that. And it's what I've seen as I've traveled this district and met with various leaders. If you're healthy, just the chances are you producing healthy ministry are so much greater when you're doing well yourself. And so we started a few years ago, back in 2022, we launched the first initiative of Healthy Leader Clusters. It began with forming a couple focus groups, feedback loops of what you guys really felt you needed. If you remember that, some of you were a part of that, and we invited you to a Zoom meeting, a diverse cross-section of our district leaders, and we heard from you, we listened, and what you said, you talked about isolation, you talked about loneliness, you talked about burnout, you talked about all sorts of these things in ministry, and so we paid attention, and it's where this Healthy Leader Cluster initiative came from. We began in 2022. We launched January 2022, and I didn't actually know what to expect. I had no idea how many leaders were going to sign up, register, be a part of a cluster. I think we began back then, if I have my numbers correctly, it was about 22 clusters, and we had about 75 leaders join a Healthy Leader Cluster. Some of them were on Zoom, some were in person, and they continued to meet. And I'm excited today to tell you, I know Pastor Jeff already gave a few numbers, but one number was not, as we just had some tallies come in real recently this week, so he wouldn't have had those numbers. But we are up to 46 clusters in 2025 with 175 pastors, leaders in a cluster today. Very good. As you know, if you're a part of a cluster, you know these are soul care for leaders. It's not another devotional. It's not another a leadership talk. That may happen in these from time to time, but the heart behind these clusters when we began them was for you to be cared for as a pastor, as a leader. And so questions like, how are you doing? How's your soul? How's your marriage, your kids, your family? And it's accountability. It's a safe place for you not have to be on, that you get to just breathe, be together with one another. And we were so excited. We hear stories all the time. I got to be honest with you, I didn't know where these would go or where they've taken off to. They've been a lot of work to just orchestrate as new registrants happen all the time, which we're thankful for. But I had no idea how some of you as cluster hosts would just take these to the next level. And we have a short little video just capturing one of our clusters, what they're doing specifically, what they just did recently. And so I'd love you to just watch this short video before I come back and wrap up this about Healthy Leader Clusters.
Hey, UND family, I'm Mike Hathaway. Welcome to Gananoque, the Cornerstone Church. I've been a cluster leader for 3 years, since the very beginning of the program. I love it. I love it. Our group has been meeting online on Zoom because we're kind of all over the place. You know, I'm here, we got a guy in Ottawa, a guy in St. John's. I mean, try and plan an in-person event like that. We're meeting at 9:30 in Newfoundland. You feel kind of like the CBC. So when St. John's moved to Ontario, we thought, well, let's get together for the first time. And so we planned a retreat. We went back to Mount Zion camp with Pastor Don McMurray. And man, those folks are fantastic back there. Just great hospitality, set us up so well. And it was nice for us for the first time just to be together. For a day and a half, we had no plan. We didn't plan Bible studies. We didn't plan, preaching and all this stuff. We just wanted to be together. And so we ate way too much red meat. We went for a long walk in the dark and got a little lost, got eaten alive. We went swimming. We kind of called it water baptism, but it was swimming. We were just together. And it was a really special moment, a really special time for us to have that moment of togetherness. It sparked something, I think, for our group that bound us together, spoke a little life into us. What a blessing. What a blessing. If I could do just a shameless plug for our cluster program here in the district, our Healthy Leader Clusters. If you're not a part of one, join one. Get into one now and find a way that you can be a blessing in the life of another pastor and receive the same from somebody else. It's been a blessing for my life and for our cluster group as well. And our cluster group, guys, we're meeting in 2 weeks. Jason, Paul, Fred, and Todd, we're meeting in 2 weeks on Zoom. But I think the first thing we should be talking about is what are we going to do together? Jay's game. Let's go to a Jay's game. Steaks and Jay's game. All right. See you soon.
Awesome. That is just one of 46 clusters, what they've done, their own little cluster retreat, I think is so cool. And so I encourage you today, if you're not currently in a cluster, I won't center you out. I would just ask simply, why not? This is for your health as a leader. Again, healthy leaders produce healthy ministries. So if you're not clustering currently, presently, I would encourage you, you can register at any point on our website. Just go to eond.org. You can register there, and we do onboarding 3 times a year. We'll get you in a cluster. So sign up today, and I'll pass it back over to Pastor Jason for the results.
Thank you, Jeremy. And let me just say thank you as well to Jeremy Candice Bell, who I know is in the room. She's now pastoring, used to be part of our district team. And she was a part of Leadership Clusters when it began, and Ala Laniork, part of our office. These are the gang who do all the hard work for Leadership Clusters. So let's just say thank you to them for the work that they do. We do have an election for our general executive nominee, a credentialed nominee, and want to congratulate Karina Shea. Karina has been serving in this role now and represents you very well. Some of the things we were talking about earlier, she brings to the table and has been advocating for these things. So Karina, congratulations. Let's also say thank you to Eric and to Leon for allowing their names to stand. Thank you very much. We have a good problem of having good names. And that leads us to our next resolution. And Jeff, if you can come back, please, to present resolution number 4.
Resolution number 4, whereas at the 2024 General Conference, it was decided that ministers, including those holding an active and current ministry-related credential for 2 full consecutive years, immediately preceding the convening of the General Conference, have voting privileges. And whereas the Eastern Ontario District Constitution and bylaws does not make provision for ministers holding a ministry-related credential to have voting privileges at the district conference, be it resolved that Article 7.2 be amended as follows. 7.2 says, under membership, all those who hold valid ministerial credentials with the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada and who have their permanent residence within the boundaries of the Eastern Ontario District or who serve on the pastoral staff of a church within the Eastern Ontario District or who meet the criteria of bylaws 10.2.12 and 10.3.4 of the General Constitution and bylaws of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada shall be recognized as ministers of the corporation entitled to vote at the district conference. Please note the words that have been struck out in that next sentence. And we proceed, the General Superintendent of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada shall be recognized ex officio as a member of the district. I so move.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder, please? It's been seconded. You want to speak to this in terms of the rationale of why we're...
Yeah, I mean, this is just to place us in alignment with what just took place in Niagara Falls at our last General Conference. No, one of the questions that has been asked of our district executive relates to the doctrinal element that people were concerned about at our General Conference. The truth is that what takes place in our district conference doesn't change our doctrinal positions, and so we would just simply be in alignment with what is already taking place at General Conference.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions about this resolution? Are you ready for the question? Thank you. Ballot number 8, I do declare that resolution number 4 is now open. The ballot will be closed when the timer on the screen reaches 0. And at the back, has that gone out? Okay, so it looks like we're good to go. Still have a little bit of time here, and there's another video that we weren't able to get to earlier just because of the way we were going, and that is I'm Part of the Family number 8. John, if you could cue that one up, please. I want to tell a neat story from church down in Toronto and something that's happened.
Wow, it's great to be with you guys today. And Zena's here with me. And Zena, we've been on a journey as a church. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you've been involved in that?
Sure. It's funny because part of the journey actually started on the stage. I am a humble board representative of Danforth at the time, Gospel Temple Community Church. And we were at a stage where, you know, we didn't know if there was still going to be community service purpose here at Danforth. And part of that searching and calling out to God was, you know, Lord, what do you have for us? You know, we had just, our pastor had just moved on. We were just coming off the tail end of the pandemic. And so attendance was low. Everything that you would probably have in terms of metrics was low. And through calling out to Lord and saying, Lord, what do you have for us? And so we said, Lord, hands are open. We're here. We're willing to serve. Lord, lead. And he did. Through meetings and prayer and partnering with the district, thank the Lord, we found ourselves into a merger. You know, when you think of merger, you think of aggressive. No, not at all. Not in the Lord's kingdom. It unfolded very naturally, very easily. And now we are a church that is growing. We are a church that has children running around. We are a church that doesn't just have one pastor. We have 6 pastors that we can call on who love us, who partner with us. And it has just been a wonderful testimony of God's goodness and what the Lord can do if you just come with open hands.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then just recently in the fall, you got a special invitation to be the chair of the board of the merged church. And so we're so glad to have you serving in that capacity and look forward to what the Lord has for us on this journey.
It's exciting.
Yeah. It seems like a long time ago, but it's a great story of churches working together with a kingdom culture to see the church go forward. Amen. I'm glad we got to show that. Well, we have the results of our last ballot, and we'll put that on the screen. So for resolution number 4, that did pass with 92%. So thank you very much for your participation in that ballot. And before we come to the last resolution of the day, there's a bit of a tradition that we have in our district conferences that is so meaningful. And I'm going to ask you to stand right now, and we'll stretch our legs a little bit. But I'm asking you to stand in a place of honor as we give honor to those who have passed away since our last district conference. And you will see their picture and their names on the screen. Thank you, friends. Please be seated. And that brings us to the final resolution of today. Are you ready for it? So this includes 3 different things. We have our officers' reports, which we would need to be moved and seconded, please. We have a mover and a seconder. It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. Secondly, we have our financial statements. To accept our financial statements. Can we have, it's been moved and seconded. Thank you very much. And then the appointment of our auditor. Would someone be willing to move and second that? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Are we ready in the back to launch that ballot? We're good. So friends, I declare our final ballot of the day, resolution number 5, 6, and 7, now be open. The ballot will be closed when the timer on the screen reaches 0. So we can begin that timer now. And I believe for the last time, we'll have Jeremy and Gabriella come up for today.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
What a day. What a day.
Welcome.
What a
What
day.
a day.
It's been good. It's been good.
It's been a great day.
It's been a great day.
It's my first EOND district.
How you feeling after all that?
I'm feeling amazing.
That was a lot.
It
That was a lot.
but I learned a lot, which was great.
And you guys stuck with us, so thank you for sticking it out. I know many of you have a distance to drive home today, but thank you for being here. A couple things. Pastor Jason's going to close this off in just a minute. But before you leave, a couple things today. First off, on your way out.
On your way out.
On your way out. There's a
We-
promotional table, and we've got all sorts of events, conferences, camps, all the things that you heard about in the reports. We've got information about that, so please stop by. If you want a little more about clusters with the QR code on it where you can scan that, that's on the table. Our camps,
Kids
our
camps,
conferences.
youth camps.
Mobilize
men's-
Leadership
Mobilize
Conference.
Leaders Conference.
Coming up in the fall.
Raise your hand
That's
if
out
you've-
there.
if you've
Just check out
registered.
the table. It's all there.
I'm very excited for that.
Excited.
Yeah.
How can people stay in touch with us if they wanted to do so?
You can stay in touch with us by following our Instagram at EOND_PAOC, which by the way, we were able to share. A lot of people shared their family lunch.
It's true. I
with
saw
us.
a couple of cool pictures. I saw Marcus Yearwood shout outs just stuffing his mouth full of a burrito or something. That was fun. That was a good shot. It's a good shot.
Great. You can also stay in touch with us by subscribing to our bi-weekly EOND newsletter, which is sent out. I think we had a little slide. There it is.
There it is.
You can stay in touch.
There it
Go
is.
to our website, eond.org, which, as you know, we are officially rebranded as of today. So give us, AKA me, some time to rebuild that.
That's right.
Make it fun and nice. So like go on it, but
Fresh look coming.
give it some
Coming your way.
time.
Coming your way.
Good things take time.
They do. They do.
Amen.
Just like today. It's been a good day.
Just
It's
like
taken some
today.
time, but it's been good. It's been real. It's been nice.
It's been real. It's been nice. Speaking of time, we are obviously very, very over time, but there is one more story that we didn't get a chance to share earlier. Pastor Matt Schmidt actually was here to share a story with us, another inspiring. I'm part of the family story. Unfortunately, had to head out to go pick up his son Ezekiel from school. So shout out Ezekiel and Pastor Matt. But we just want to highlight some young adult ministries in our district, this one specifically in the city of Ottawa, which is extra special to me because it's my home church from Woodville Church. And just something fun that's been happening over there is we've actually been able to partner up with our local college, Algonquin College, which is amazing. And it's been really, really cool to be able to actually host Alpha 3 separate times. And so Woodville has actually, this all started from a missional perspective on one Thanksgiving offering. And then we were able to raise all this money for young adult ministry outreach. And it was amazing. And now it's just become this big, amazing partnership with our local college. Now that all these student ministries and colleges and universities actually have such a deep trust in our YA ministries to send students there. So it's amazing. We have YA camp coming up
So
as
good.
well as
That's
summer
true.
at
At
both
both of our
OEPC
camps.
and
Yep.
Lakeshore, which is really exciting. So it's just
That's right.
amazing to see what young adult ministry is thriving. Shout out to our young adult pastors here today. Yeah, come on.
Next Gen Ministries.
We love YA ministry. And so, yeah, it's just really inspiring. And I hope if ever you see Pastor Matt, ask him a little bit more about that. I'm sure he'll explain it way better than I do. So,
So
yeah,
good.
cool
So
story.
good. Well, Gabriella, your first conference, you did well today. You did great. Give it up for Gabriella. Did such a great job hosting with me today.
Give it
I'm
up
not
for
the easiest
Jeremy.
guy to work with, so I get it. I get it.
you. Yeah.
All right, back to you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for all your help today. I can see the little ellipsis on my screen. So something is coming. I'm just waiting to see for that to come in. While we're waiting for the results of that ballot, I want to offer a word of appreciation to KGT, Kingston Gospel Temple, and their hospitality. They have been awesome to work with. And not only for this event, but anytime we do anything district, the answer is almost always yes. And I believe they're getting ready to renovate and everything, and they delayed because we were coming here. So thank you so much to Pastor Phil and the team. We really appreciate, Andrew, all of your hard work in accommodating us. I also want to say thank you to John Butler and Livewire Media, the guys at the back. What? That was awesome. These guys are phenomenal. They are turnkey. Every time we do anything technical, if I know I've got John Butler and his crew, I just relax. So thank you, John, for all of your help. I want to say thank you to our worship team who's come, that were made up of pastors and leaders from our district. Did a great job. We appreciate you guys giving your time today. And all of our district conference team. It's been a village to pull this one off. So I want to say thank you to everyone who's been part of our district conference team, including spouses that got roped into coming. And I want to give a special shout out to someone who doesn't like it, but she deserves it. Cheryl Rogers, sitting down here at the front. She is the quarterback, and she threw a touchdown today. So thank you, Cheryl, for all your hard work. I believe we should be ready for the results. Well, they're there. Wonderful. So thank you, friends. The results are in, and those resolutions have now passed. The only thing that's left to do is we need a motion to adjourn. Would there be a mover and a seconder? Not that you're in a hurry or anything. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. Have a great day, friends. Go Leafs. God bless you all.